The Real George Orwell, Burma, by Mike Walker, with Joseph Milson as Eric Blair.
The summer of 1922. I was 20. I had no idea of what I wanted to do in this world, so in a way it seemed as if I might do anything at all. I even thought that Jacinta and I... she was 22 and our families had been friends since forever. What I didn't know then was that in this world, even in that unforgettable magic summer, nothing is forever. Everything changes.
I say, do you mind if I join you?
Why should I mind, Eric? And why ask? You never ask. You never asked before.
I don't know, it just seemed right somehow. Today, I mean.
Well, obviously. You could hardly mean any other day, could you?
It's glorious, isn't it?
It's Tuesday.
Sometimes I don't understand you at all, Jacinta.
I should hope you never understand me. I would hate to be understood.
Even by someone who actually rather... I mean, you know...
Actually not, but then I never pretended to understand you, Eric. Would you like some lemonade? It might help cool your brains.
No, not really. I don't like lemonade, but then you know I don't like lemonade. I never drink lemonade. I don't...
You don't understand it at all?
You're amazing, Sini.
Do you want to see Prosper? He's gone off to Oxford, I'm afraid, to look over a college with a friend who's going up next year.
Actually, I knew that. He told me, yes. No, I wanted to see...
You know, you were more entertaining when you used to stand on your head.
I was 12 years old.
And you said you get noticed more if you stand on your head than if you're the right way up.
Yes, it was true.
And then you told us that you were going to be a famous author one day.
Well,
But you see, Eric, this is one day. And you're not even going to university.
Somerset Maugham didn't go to university.
Oh, he was a doctor, so it's not the same thing at all.
That doesn't matter.
Well, if that doesn't matter, I'd like to know what does.
Don't you see, Sini, it's terribly important that you believe in me.
We all believed in you, Eric.
I mean, that you...
Why should I believe in E.A. Blair, the famous author? Oh, you're not going to stand on your head again, are you?
Well, I did write a lot of stories.
You told a lot of stories.
We used to read together. Don't you remember? Lying amongst the bluebells.
Of course I remember. Why wouldn't I remember E.A. Blair, the famous reader amongst the bluebells?
Do stop it, Sini. I'm trying to be serious.
I thought you always tried to be serious, Eric.
I'm going to Burma.
Burma?
I'm going to be an assistant superintendent in the police force.
A policeman?
Well, in effect, yes.
Are you aware that a policeman's lot is not a happy one? And I should think exceptionally not so in Burma.
Jacinta, this is not a comedy by Oscar Wilde.
More like a tragedy by the famous author E.A. Blair.
I do wish you'd stop that.
I do wish you would. We were going to be intellectuals together, Eric. Your books, my poetry, and the magazine we would edit.
We can still be together, Sini.
Sending each other poems around the world.
I did mean it. The poem I sent. Remember? Friendship and love are closely entwined. My heart belongs to your befriending mind. But something shadows fall. My love can't reach your heedless heart at all.
By light too bright, it's best to rest in shade. Or something like that. That's us, really, isn't it? Are you sure you don't want a drink?
Can't you see, Sini, I'm asking you to marry me.
What?
Come to Burma with me.
Somehow that doesn't sound quite as alluring as, come to Balliol with me and we'll start a poetry magazine.
Stop it, please, just be serious, for once.
Oh, can't you see, Eric? Dear Eric, I am trying to be serious and kind and caring and...
Not loving.
I do like you. We've known each other so long. All the things we've done and read together, it would be like marrying my brother. And what a waste that would be of two ardent hearts.
Don't you see, Sini, I love you, and I want you.
Eric, stop it. Let me go now. Please. You tried that once, and we both know it didn't work because it was wrong. It was as wrong as if we really had been brother and sister.
I wish I hadn't. I wish I'd never...
What? Met me?
I don't know, Sini. I don't know. Sometimes I don't even know if what I'm thinking or feeling is any realer than any one of 100 books we've read together. You know, at Eton, that last term, I gave a talk to the Literary Society on Robert Louis Stevenson's The Suicide Club, and I sometimes wonder if going to Burma is like Stevenson's story, and I'm Prince Florizel, putting my life at risk so I can know something. So I can know something utterly, totally real. As real as the steel muzzle of a revolver pressed against my skull.
Nothing is forever. Everything changes. And I went to Burma. And in a way, nothing changed at all. The empire was as the empire did, and I was its very good servant. I was its very good servant for almost 4 years. Until...
I say, Blair, there's an elephant gone loco in the bazaar.
I say, really?
Brown niggers all running mad. Whole place in an uproar.
I think they enjoy it when things go wrong. They love to see us with our pants down.
Well, not today. The super wants you to sort it out chop chop, old man.
Me?
Well, you're the DS.
Where's the beast's trainer, for goodness sake? Find the blasted mahout, and Jumbo will go home happy.
Oh, not this one. Mahout went looking in the wrong place. If you ask me, the beggar was yellow, but then most of them are. And they say the bloody thing's in must.
But if they'll only leave it be, it'll calm down in a day or so. Stay out of the way, let it trample a few stray dogs, it'll settle.
I know that, and you know that, but the super wants us to deal with the thing. It doesn't look good when we do nothing.
Well, even if doing something doesn't really help.
What's that got to do with it? No. But besides, it'll be a lark, shooting an elephant. You'll be able to hang the head on your study wall back home in Blighty and impress the Popsies no end.
I suppose so. Hold on. You think a Winchester 44 will do it?
Well, it worked for Buffalo Bill, didn't it?
No, I think he used a Sharps Express, at least according to Boy's Own Thrilling Tales of the Wild West.
Never mind, Buffalo Bill. Do this and they'll be calling you Elephant Eric. Oh, come on!
Inspector Ernest D'Souza, I have the honor to be assisting you finding...
Yes. Where is it?
That is not known at present.
Oh, come on, man. It's as big as an elephant.
What was the last sighting, Inspector?
It overturned the municipal rubbish cart.
Good Lord.
And that was where?
To the east.
To the east?
And then to the west, a hut was destroyed.
To the north and south, I suppose.
It has caused much trouble. They will tell you, much trouble for people.
Doesn't look as if it's that much trouble for anyone now, Inspector. You sure the beast hasn't just calmed down?
The beast is in must.
It was in must, but it will calm down if we leave it be. Do you see, Inspector?
No, not possible. The elephant must be dealt with.
Well, first we have to find the bloody thing. Has anyone actually seen it? You know how stories just come out of nowhere with these people.
I suggest we pack it in and go home.
No. We go this way. We find elephant.
Well, so now you know where it is, hey? Oh. My God, Blair. Do you see?
People say the elephant come round hut, come out of nowhere to pick him up and throw him down and stamp on him.
Poor beggar.
Oh. By God. Flat as a pancake.
They always say dead people look at peace. He doesn't. He looks frightened. Terrified. Does anyone know him, Inspector? Is there a family?
They all look the same to me.
They are not known.
No.
Indian fella. Coolie. they will come.
It looks like he's been crucified.
Well, at least we know there is an elephant out there somewhere. Nothing else short of a steamroller could have done that.
Ah, spot on.
Over there, in Paddy Field. Over there.
You know, Wilson, I don't really think a Winchester's going to do the job. Not if I actually have...
Inspector, be a good fellow and cut along to the superintendent's office. Ask him for the biggest gun he's got, understand?
yeah.
Then bring it back, chop chop.
It's not my job to carry guns, sir.
Ugh, you won't have a bloody job if you don't shift your pins, old thing. Do you want to be responsible for what happens if Jumbo stamps on one of your bloody priests or whoever pays your bribe money?
I will come back with gun, sir.
It's a bit rough. Chap's only trying to do his job.
Oh, see, none of the beggars wants any responsibility. God knows what would happen here if we didn't do it. I expect they'd sit around smoking opium all day.
Well, they seem to have done quite well before we arrived. Perhaps he didn't like you talking to him in that way in front of his own people.
Well, blast what he likes. It's none of his business. Well, come on, let's find this beast.
I hope the rain starts soon. This heat is killing.
Many a true word. See anything?
Do you?
No.
Well, since it's a bloody elephant, I don't think either of us is likely to miss it.
Steady on. Ah, here comes your big gun, Blair.
Oh, be careful. Mr. Superintendent has only 5 cartridges, sir. They say the elephant very angry now.
Well, I'll be very angry if you don't clear that mob away.
Very sorry, sir. Not possible. Too many people.
Looks like you've got an audience, Elephant Eric. All we need now is... Ah, the main attraction at last.
God, he's a big one. Oh, he's just pulling up bamboo. He's hungry, that's all.
Even so, I'd load if I was you.
Look, Wilson, I have no intention of shooting this animal. He's peaceful enough.
Well, what if he changes his mind and charges us, eh? Fancy being stamped into the paddy, do you?
Oh, come on, we can run away, can't we?
Run? In front of them? Let them see a white man scuttling off with his tail between his legs?
I hadn't really thought of that.
There must be bloody near a couple of thousand of the beggars by now. It's a carnival, Blair. They love this sort of show and they do not expect to be disappointed. We all have our part to play, so be a good fellow and shoot the bloody elephant.
The must has passed. He's no more dangerous than a cow.
You want them to laugh at you?
Does that matter?
How long have you been out here, man?
Yes, of course. It's what we can't ever allow, isn't it?
Steady the buffs. Oh. He's seen us. He knows you're there now. Go on.
In the head, I suppose?
Don't ask me. I've never done it before, but I shouldn't think he'll be going anywhere with a .557 Nitro Express in his noodle. Still standing. Don't look so steady anymore, though. A bit deflated, if you ask me.
I didn't.
Best hit him again, old man. Want to do a clean job, don't you? He's down, but not out.
He looks 1,000 years old. What am I doing, Wilson?
You've got to admire his spirit. And you're doing the job. Go on.
Oh, that's it, I'm done.
Not yet, Blair. Want to make sure, don't you?
What the hell do you mean?
That he's really finished, before they start cutting him up.
Let's understand, how is he still...
Better do something, or they will.
Just give me the Winchester.
Try the heart. The head didn't seem to do much good.
Why don't you die?
Thank God.
I haven't got any more shots left, Wilson.
Come on. We'll go to the club. I need a bloody big drink.
Come in. Sit down, Blair.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Drink?
No, thank you, sir.
Please yourself. As you do, young Blair.
Beg your pardon, sir?
This elephant business. Rushing off like Tom Mix, a 6-gun in every hand, blasting away like some damned desperado.
I believe Tom Mix always played the hero, sir.
What?
Tom Mix, the,
I'm not talking about some bloody Yankee cowboy. I'm talking about you, Blair.
Yes, sir.
About loyalty and loyalties, you see?
I'm not sure I do, sir.
Visiting Buddhist priests, lurking around the shadow theatre, that sort of thing. Native life. It's all very well to have a look-see, but we don't make a habit of it, I've seen it happen to men before when they come out here. They get slack, like that Robinson chappie. Resigns his position, marries a local tart, becomes a Buddhist and ends up addicted to opium.
I did visit Mr. Robinson.
I know you did. I know what all my men do. That's why I'm in command. I know, and I'm concerned, Blair. This putting on a show for the locals.
I don't understand, sir. The elephant was in must. Something clearly had to be done. Captain Wilson and I pursued the beast. We talked to the local inspector.
Yes, I have his report.
A man had died, been killed.
Some damned coolie.
Well, I don't suppose he felt that way.
I don't suppose he felt very much with a 10-ton elephant dancing the fandango on top of him, but that's not the point.
No, sir?
No, sir. Sure you won't have one?
No. Thank you, sir.
Look, I don't enjoy this any more than you do, but you know... Well, let's get things straight, shall we? What do you see when you first arrive in this benighted hellhole?
I remember... Yes, as we came into port, the sea was still, so still, glassy green, and there were turtles and sea snakes basking there, and a fleet of sampans came racing out to meet us. It was like Lord Jim or Somerset Maugham.
Enough with the poetry. What do you see when you look at Rangoon from the ship's side?
Oh, the pagoda, of course, that golden roof catching the sun like it was...
No, not the bloody pagoda. You know what you see if you're an Englishman. The Burma oil terminal. All those bloody great smoking chimneys. That's why we're here and why we've always been here. Forget the white man's burden. Forget empire or temples of glass-green water. We're here for one reason only. Commerce. And do you know what that means?
Shopkeeping, trade, that sort of...
You see, there it is, Blair. You can't resist being clever, can you? Thinking you're smarter than the rest of us.
I don't think that at all, sir.
You better not. Your hands are as dirty as anyone's out here. You were at the hanging the other day,
Yes, sir.
Anything to say? Got any pacifist statements you'd like to make?
I've never pretended to be a pacifist, sir.
No doubt Jumbo would testify to that, what? Look, what we do is keep the business going, see? And that means delivering a good dividend to the shareholders, being a safe pair of hands, never mind a little bit of dirt under the fingernails.
Very good, sir, but I still don't see what this has to do with the elephant.
It belonged to Steele Brothers.
Timber? Logging?
Exactly. Trade, as you so arrogantly put it. They are not pleased.
One elephant? They must have thousands.
But each one matters, Blair. It was an asset, and you do not allow your assets to be killed as a bloody spectacle. We can never let go our grip. Because once we do, once they start to see that it's possible that we aren't here forever by right of God, but only by right of the City of London... Do you see now?
Yes, sir, I do.
We're already getting mobs of schoolboys shouting insults in the streets, and Buddhist monks making a nuisance of themselves in that bloody peaceful way of theirs. Well, Steele Brothers are not happy, They want an example made. In short, they want you out of here. Posted to some backwater. Qatar, for instance.
How can I matter that much to the biggest timber company in Burma?
You cost them money. And every shilling matters, every sixpence. Read your Carlyle, Blair. He who has sixpence is lord over all men who have it not. He commands cooks to feed him, teachers to teach him, even kings to guard him, as long as the sixpences keep coming into his purse. As long as the sixpences keep coming into his purse. Now, get yourself packed and sorted, and I will shoot along a travel warrant. Be a change for you, at least. Get to see a bit more of the country. So, sorry to lose you in a way, Blair. Not quite what we usually get. I rather wondered how a chap from Eton ended up here. It's no matter. Off you go. Good luck.
Baggage van. They go in the baggage van, Tam. You chop, porter. The train is leaving. Hurry. Hurry. You, lend a hand here.
Lend a hand yourself. Bloody born a lazy Englishman. Look at bloody Englishman. Too weak to carry bag himself.
What do you say?
You can go home, white man, and take all your white man friends with you. We had enough of you here. Go away. You go. We don't want you.
You can watch your bloody language.
You go now. Go away. We don't want you. Tell the white bastards to go home. All of them.
Get out of my way.
Get out of my country.
Damn your impudence.
Get on board, bloody. Give me your hand. Come on. Come on.
Had a wee bit of a narrow escape there.
Yes, I did. They, out of nowhere, it was horrible.
You think they meant you harm?
I think they wanted to trample me. Underfoot, crush me. Look, I'm terribly sorry. I'm in the wrong compartment. I should go and find my... I have a warrant. I'm dreadfully sorry.
I think you should stay right where you are. Drink this.
Oh.
Here. Go on.
Thank you. I really must find my compartment.
What's the hurry? Aren't you going all the way? Qatar. Well, don't fret. I heard you on the station telling the porter, that's all. Nothing mysterious going on. New posting?
Yes, you could say so. Look, Mr.
What do you say to no names? No pack drill, eh? Two travellers met upon a journey. Sounds like something out of Stevenson.
It's the Suicide Club. Wonderful. The ebb tide, the beach at Falesa.
So you're a reader?
Well, we all read out here. We can't wait for the latest novels to arrive from home.
Then should I say a thoughtful reader? Not the constant nymph sort of stuff, which is, perhaps, a little strange for a policeman.
I did actually rather enjoy the constant nymph, but yes, I do read. Jack London, French writers, Flaubert, Anatole France. My God.
What's the matter?
I'm sitting here in this carriage talking about literature as if I hadn't just beaten that boy.
Bit of Jekyll and Hyde, eh? Did you mean him harm?
I think at that moment I could have killed him.
He's not the first Burman or Indian you've beaten, I'd wager.
No, of course not. Prisoners. Well, how could I be a policeman and do my job? You know what they're like.
What are they like?
Evil-hearted little beasts. No, I don't mean that. I mean, I do mean it, but I don't...
You feel it, but you don't like the fact that you do.
Yes, I think so.
And besides, they can be evil-hearted little beasts.
Yes.
I've been out here a good few years, and I know a good few Burmans, Indians, Chinese, well, you name it. And they're all of them fine people. But bring on colonialism, and something bad happens to the best of men. But that's enough of that. I don't think you did any harm to that young fellow, apart from bruising his pride.
I looked into his face. He was angry. Not cowed or frightened. He didn't like me. No, not just me. He didn't like any of us. The look of pure hatred on his face. Do you see that?
I see it very often. I'm a school teacher, an educator. Oh yes, the British authorities do actually have a policy of native education. Let's teach them how lucky they are that we came and appropriated their country and are running it so much more efficiently, so much more profitably than they ever could. After all, if we don't explain it clearly, they might wonder why all the profits from their natural resources flow to the city
of London.
Bravo! For then they might start looking at other folk who decided to take history into their own hands. What is it Mr. H.G. Wells says? The walls that surround us appear like concrete, but once we dare to burst through, we discover that, after all, they are only paper. And we don't want that to happen, do we?
All sounds a bit bolshy to me.
It all sounds like simple common sense to me. You know, the way you look at a thing and say to yourself, it's not right. I remember being a wee boy put to my lessons back in Aberdeen. We had a fine big globe in the classroom, and I can see myself now slowly spinning it and thinking, there's too much red on this thing. Too much red. You can leave and find your own compartment if this is all too bolshy for you, laddie.
Yet you came out to Burma. Why?
If you ever visit Aberdeen, go down to the harbour and you'll see on the Hard a roundhouse. The harbour master's office, with a gallery runs around the top. My uncle used to take me up there so I could watch the ships leaving port. Steaming, sometimes still sailing even, at that date. And his job was to call out to the masters, "Whither bound? Whither bound?" And they would answer, "Bombay, Rangoon, San Francisco, Yokohama, the whole world." And I got a yen to see it one day for myself.
The things that make us what we are.
Perhaps.
That change our lives.
Perhaps where we go depends on who we are and where we came from.
It's a long story.
You're a young man. I doubt it's that long.
Well, I suppose I was a little snob, like most boys of my age.
And your class, I dare say?
Pretty much. But no worse than the other boys of my class and age.
Aye.
Prep school, public school, can't say I cared for either.
Good schools?
Pretty good, as these things are counted. Eton. Yeah, of course, it depends on how these things are counted.
In my experience, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on.
Indeed.
It wouldn't be of much use, the numbers, if you couldn't be sure of them. Do you see?
Well, I suppose so, but then... Well, then, I was as sure of what I believed as I was of the numbers and the letters of the alphabet. England. God bless the king and everyone in his rightful place, men with big moustaches and sticks, and Kipling and Kitchener, Edward Elgar, Gilbert and Sullivan, and...
For he himself has said it, and it's greatly to his credit that he is an Englishman.
That he is... But then I stopped. I stopped being sure of anything at all.
Ah, as my old pal Sherlock Holmes would say, I suspect there's a woman in the case?
Yes, a girl.
There generally is with young fellows, I find. Beautiful, was she? Intelligent? Lively? Made you feel?
Well, she made me feel terrible, in the end. I always thought she was so tender-hearted when she cried over the animals we boys shot at with our 22s, and then she abandoned me to this bloody country. All hope denied.
You wanted to marry her, I dare say. Bring her out here.
That's what I thought.
What did she think?
Well, I thought that she would... Well, I don't suppose I knew what she thought, really. I wrote to her once I got here. I wrote lots, almost once a week.
Telling her what she was missing?
Telling her how awful it all was.
And?
She stopped writing.
Clever lassie.
I've decided that I don't really understand them, women.
Got a mistress here, have you? Little brown girl. Always strikes me the native women are just right for you old school chaps. Look like pretty boys, but never fret, she's all right where it counts.
I rather resent that.
You've never had a, what do they call it, a pash? A crush on a younger boy at that school of yours, huh? Being honest?
Well, that's different.
Oh, I dare say. And now you have your Burma girl who cooks your meals, washes your socks and peels your banana. And you don't have to go to all the trouble of understanding her either. How old were you when you came out? When your girl dumped you?
Well, I was coming anyway, really. Barely 20. Burma is my universities.
Have you read him?
What?
Maxim Gorky.
No, not yet. I mean to. There's so much to read.
You should. But why Burma, anyway?
Well, my father insisted. He was in India. District officer. He thought it was the only thing to do, and after Jacintha, there was nothing I could find in myself that said otherwise.
All right, then, let me be a bit more specific. Why are you here on this train, which we both know is going nowhere?
Well, it's going to Qatar.
Which, as far as an ambitious young policeman might be concerned, is nowhere.
Are you, questioning me?
Are you questioning me? After all, you're the one with the notebook.
Oh, well, I rather hope one day to be... Well, no, that's not quite true.
Go on.
When I was a boy, I always thought I would be a writer. Then I came out here and I decided... No, this country decided I wouldn't be a writer after all. I'd do my job and things would go on somehow. I really wanted that. To be like everyone else here until... Well, until...
And so here we are, two unknown travellers. Whither bound, my friend? Whither bound?
I don't know whither. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you about the thing that made me think all this is standing on its head. I'll tell you about the day I killed an elephant.
Best hit him again, old man. Do a clean job, can you? He's down, but not out.
He looks 1,000 years old. That's it, I'm done.
Not yet, Blair. Want to make sure, don't you?
What the hell do you mean?
That he's really finished before they start cutting him up.
After we left, it took the elephant half an hour to die. They were cutting into him long before that. He'd spent his life working for them, for us. A great, strong, majestic animal, and in the end, he was just an afternoon's entertainment. A few cuts of meat, a bit of ivory. Maybe I'm being sentimental and it won't matter a damn who shot that elephant, and it's all history. We don't really stand a chance, do we, of changing anything? You know, sometimes I feel it'll just go on and on like the bloody jungle. Cut out a clearing and in weeks, days, the forest takes it back. The creepers and vines strangle what men have built. Everything rots, gets eaten, gets used again to do the same pointless thing. It's appalling. Like a nightmare. Evolution. Inevitability.
History, the jungle, inevitability, eternal recurrence, call it what you will. I don't think it exists. Not as you see it, laddie. History doesn't make men. Men make history.
Men make mistakes. Coming to Burma was mine.
Unless you make something out of it, rather than letting it make a failure out of you. How about that? I think we're arriving at our destination. We must have talked the night away.
I think I did most of the talking. Perhaps we'll see each other in Qatar. It's a small community. I'm sure everybody knows everybody.
Oh, I won't be around for long. Always moving on. That's me. What about you?
Well, for 4 years I've been doing a job I've come to believe is wrong. I hate it. But more than that, I hate what I've become doing it. I know I have to get out.
Out of Burma?
Out of everything. Get away from any place where one man dominates another. Maybe I should try and go amongst the people.
Go native? Smoke opium? Doubt that would work. You'd always be a stranger. Couldn't be otherwise.
Then perhaps failure is the only honest path that's left for us to take.
I don't think so. You know, you don't have to be in Burma to make that journey. Surely it's there on your own doorstep. All around you. Hidden in plain sight.
I don't see...
Well, of course you do, laddie. If only you look. I'd take a small bet you know more about the Burmans than you do about, say, the miners in Britain. Or the unemployed who tramp your roads. Or all those who make your life so easy and comfortable. You talked about this country being your university. Maybe you were wrong. And your university was always right there outside your garden gate. Well, laddie, it was a pleasure making the journey in your company. Oh, and why not take a peek at the 11th thesis? Might prove interesting.
The 11th what?
Goodbye now.
Wait.
Keep us waiting out here all bloody night. Don't you know it's bloody wet? Shut up, will you? Just shut up about the bloody rain. No mate of yours, mate.
First time for the spark, is it?
Yes. How did you know?
It's clear, isn't it? Huh? You ain't one of us.
Well, I'm down and out.
You're as wrong as a 9-bob note, mate. Got any rhino?
What?
Cash, money.
8pence.
See?
See what?
Oh, don't know your ass from your elbow. You get 7 days for trying to get in with Rhino or Backy. Got any Backy?
No.
Because he'll kick you out at 2 in the morning if he finds you got Backy.
Who will?
The tramp major. That bastard will throw you out for looking at him wrong. It's for indigent, Nancy. Indigent. You ain't indigent if you got a penny and a fag end in your pocket.
I'll need to be careful then.
Well, you need someone to wipe your ass for you. Mate, what you know ain't what a babe in arms knows. You keep a civil tongue in your head. Don't look him in the eye. Don't do nothing to make him look at you. And bury your rhino. Find a hole, huh? Hide it. Pick it up tomorrow.
What if somebody steals it?
You mean what if I steal it? Then it gets stolen, right? No, you don't you worry. You can trust me. Party man I am.
Party? What party?
Go on, bury it. I'll keep an eye. Communist Party.
Oh.
Member since before the war, since before the revolution.
Can't the party help you?
The party's got enough to do. And besides, the drink, you see, the drink takes hold of me. It does. And the party discipline goes right out the window. Oh, sorry, mate.
How will I know where it is? The rhino?
Oh, leave the marker. Right, there, that tin.
Right.
Use that, stamp it in the mud. That's it, stamp it flat. Stamp it in.
Looks like a crucified man.
Looks more like Fray Bentos bully beef to me. Oh, Friday tea. We always used to have that on account of me and the wife being Catholic. Before we joined the party. Oh, I know it sounds daft, but it mattered to us then. It wasn't just making a gesture. Friday tea, Fray Bentos, corned beef with mustard, Coleman's mustard, yellow, remember? Remember how yellow that mustard was? And a tin with edges so sharp you could cut a Conservative's throat before he knew to stop lying to you. Sometimes I think I'll give it all up for a corned beef sandwich with mustard on it. Except, of course, I ain't got nothing to give up.
You were married?
Yeah, she left me. Don't blame her. Good comrade she was. It was the drink, see? Always been the drink with me. Went off with a bloody milkman. He was a Methodie. That hurt, that did. Truth to tell, they kicked me out after that. The drink, you see. Keep me out of the party. Always been... Oh, hold on. Looks like they're opening up. Come on, want to get a good billet, don't you? You stick by me, mate. Stick by Comrade Ted.
Ted, when you were in the party, did you read a lot?
I read it all, mate. Loved reading, still do.
Did you ever hear of something called the 11th thesis?
All right, you lot. You knows the rules. No money, no baccy and no bloody lip. And any bastard craps the bed, I'll have his guts for garters.
The 11th thesis, Ted, do you know what it is?
Hi, the 11th thesis. Everyone knows that.
What is it?
Oh, Karl Marx, innit? The thesis on Feuerbach.
Move it. But I ain't got all night.
What is it?
Hey? Come on. He locks the door. Once he locks the door, that's it.
The 11th thesis, Ted.
Hurry up, mate. He won't wait. He never waits. God and the tramp major. They ain't got a farthing's worth of patience between the both of them. Come in, sir. Wait for me, sir.
The winter of 1929. I was 27 years old, and I was at last beginning to know what I wanted to do in this world. In 1845, the 27-year-old Karl Marx wrote a series of theses against the work of his one-time colleague Ludwig Feuerbach, mainly an attack on German idealism, but the last, the 11th thesis, states, "Up until now, philosophers have only interpreted the world. The point is to change it." I thought my path was set, and I only had to go along it to reach the promised land of justice for all. I should have known. Nothing is forever. It was never going to be that easy.
In The Real George Orwell, Burma, Eric Blair was played by Joseph Milson, Jacintha Buddicombe by Sophie Roberts, Wilson by Joseph Klosker, The Inspector by Ernest Ignatius, The Burmese Youth by Aman Kiamani, The Man on the Train by Derek Riddell, and Ted by Alan Raglan. The Real George Orwell, Burma was written by Mike Walker and was a BBC Cymru Wales production, directed by Kate McCall. The Real George Orwell, Dreaming, by Mike Walker, with Joseph Milson as Eric Blair.
I'm not sure this is a terribly good idea. Now we come to it.
Eric, I'm not sure it's a terribly good idea. You were all for it. We don't have to go on.
No, I think it'll hold out if I'm careful.
It?
My voice, yes, you were worried about my voice after the wound? About it lasting for a whole lecture?
No.
No?
You know perfectly well what I'm worried about, Eric.
Do I?
You simply refuse to consider it in your usual pig-headed manner.
Don't worry, darling. Not as if we're stepping into the stock exchange. These are our friends.
Sometimes, Eric, for a brilliant man, you're a very stupid man.
Shall we go?
Come on. Take that.
Summer 1938. A time full of foreboding. I had come through the Spanish Civil War, but as to where I was going, where any of us were going in those dark days, no one knew.
Can I introduce our speaker for tonight? A comrade who's returned from Spain, who was wounded there, and is well known as the author of many books on socialism and the state of England. and most recently his account of his experiences in the Spanish Civil War. Homage to Catalonia, Mr. Eric Blair.
Thank you, brothers, sisters, comrades, for your invitation to talk here at this fine new building, the Conway Hall. And I think it is appropriate that it was financed and built by the Ethics Society, since tonight I would like to talk about the ethical dilemmas I and many comrades experienced in Spain.
Here it comes.
The backbone of the resistance against Franco was the Spanish working class. And this began with the anarchist trade union members of the CNT and in Catalonia the militias of the...
In Catalonia, the class traitors!
I can assure you, comrade, the fighters on the Zaragoza front were at the forefront of all...
Fraternisation with the fascists!
Atrocities against the working class! Betrayal of the communist idea!
If there was a betrayal, comrade...
Not if your comrade, you fascist bastard!
Please, if there was a betrayal, it was by the Communist Party of the Anarchist and Socialist Front in Catalonia. Comrades, listen to me, please. The Maydays, the terror, the absolute horror.
They wouldn't listen.
You wouldn't listen, darling. You never do to what you don't want to hear.
Is there to be no discussion? No conversation?
Didn't you say in Spain, first we have to win the war, then we can talk about parties and factions and opinions?
We lost the war. Now there's another war coming and we'll lose that one too, and the whole of Europe will be... Smoke?
No, thank you. And you shouldn't either. It's not good for your throat.
Why would my throat matter? I have no voice. I have nothing to say. I am an exponent of the art of silence.
You're hurt because they wouldn't listen to you. It's a free society. They don't have to, Eric, and that makes you angry. Like a schoolboy who's done his prep and stands up to recite his lesson and no one listens. Oh, the bounders, the rotten beasts.
You know, I walked over this bridge when I was on the tramp. Went to Lambeth, sold my clothes in a rag shop and got some others. No, they were cleaner than the stuff we had in Spain. Here, have some of mine.
Oh, my God, that's sixpenneth of good baccy, eh? Where'd you get hold of that? Can tell you ain't been on the road long, pilgrim.
What, don't you get tobacco on the road, then?
Of course we has it. Here, take a gander at this. Gotta keep a sharp eye in your head for doofus.
Doofus?
Doofer tomorrow. Fag ends. Why, I can pick up a couple of ounces a day, no trouble, off in the pavements. Still, your baccy is good baccy. Fresh as cuckoo spit. You don't mind if I roll a snout?
No, go ahead.
Oh, wait now. Here's a fella looks promising. Sir, could you spare a penny for a poor man who wants a cup of tea? I was a veteran. I was just a penny, sir.
Maybe you should spend your money on tea and food and not waste it all on tobacco.
Well then, I got that wrong.
So, what do you think, Tommy? Should you?
No, here's how I see it, Pilgrim. Would you deny a man a little comfort? Didn't Jesus? It's very self-see. Man does not live by bread alone. I'd have wanted a smoke, hanging there on that cross all day long. Any man might. And you ask me, it's us that needs it more than the likes of him. How doesn't he have everything, and what do we have?
What do you have, Tommy? Why do you do it?
Oh, that's good baccy, that is. Come on, I knows a place where they gives you a free bun and a mug of tea, and it's good tea and all, and you ask me, a smoke and decent cupper, that's a good day. Come on, Pilgrim.
Smoke and a good cup of tea.
A good day.
I've lost it, Eileen. Whatever I found then, I don't know, the heart of England. Maybe that's what I thought it was. thought it meant something.
Doesn't it? It did to Tommy.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Tommy died in Spain. Tommy and thousands like him betrayed because they forgot to be content with a good smoke and a decent cup of tea because they wanted to build Jerusalem in Barcelona and Lambeth, and they ended up with a handful of ashes.
Well, I don't know about you, but when I was a girl and I lost something, Mummy always used to say, "Don't stand there sulking, miss. Go and find it."
Where do I find the heart of England? Open the window, it's stifling.
There's a balcony.
Is it any cooler out there?
A little. There's a breeze. Lots of smells. Doesn't smell like England at all. What?
There's a ceiling fan. It's like being in one of those Yankee films with Charles Boyer and Marlene Dietrich, all scorching sands.
And scorching passion?
Take care. You have come to a land of fire, and you are made of fire, my dear.
You're an idiot, Eric.
I am a fool who loves you to distraction.
Darling, you're a fool who booked us into the Hotel Continental, which just happened to be a brothel. You didn't notice a thing until I pointed out the whores and their customers.
Some of them were quite pretty.
In a boyish kind of way. Actually, I wonder if some of them were boys.
Dirty, unwashed. You could...
I'm not sure this place is much better.
But the Majestic is much better than the Continental.
Shall we go out? See if we can find a cafe.
I do though.
What?
Love you. Spain taught me that.
You married me before Spain?
You know I loved you then, but I didn't know you. No one really knows anyone else unless they have years together or things, events, make them speed up. Do you see?
I'm not sure I do. Is it getting cooler?
After an attack on the Zaragoza front once, we were retreating, carrying anything we could scavenge from the fascist lines, and they began shooting and rolling grenades down the hill. I was mud-caked, sore, dog-tired, and carrying a 60-pound ammunition box. There was no way I could run, but I got up and ran. War does that to you. It accelerates everything.
I know. I corrected the proofs of Catalonia. I read the story a dozen times. It is cooler. I definitely need a cup of coffee.
You see, without you to hold on to, I would have died from the wound. And I think now, without you...
You get by, Eric. You always do. But it is sweet of you to say it, I think.
I mean it. It's the only thing I do mean at the moment.
Then you know what I want, Eric.
You're right. We do need a coffee.
Du café, monsieur. Thank you. Madame.
Merci.
Voilà. Merci.
Oh, wouldn't want to drink too much of this stuff. I should think it would send you a bit doolally.
It doesn't seem to bother people.
Not unless they're mad already. Do you see how the French still lord it everywhere?
But aren't they just being French?
Or imperialist. I saw it in Burma. It's probably the same in India. It would probably be the same on Mars if we could get there. Let us bring you the benefits of European culture. Here, the cash nexus. There, let's create a servant class, some downtrodden workers. But you don't think so? Did you know Cecil Rhodes once said, "I'd annex the solar system if I could"? Oh, and on
Public meeting.
That's rather good, actually. That was awful, wasn't it? The way they turned on me. At Conway Hall.
The way you wanted them to turn on you.
Well, at least they'd read the book. Actually, given the sales, they were probably the only people who had.
And the flies have gone. We hadn't noticed.
I think they've adjourned to a better venue.
Oh. It is very strong, isn't it, and sweet?
The funeral, you see. They're landing on the body as they carry it. In Muslim funerals, you must be buried before nightfall, I think. Oh, and they drink the funeral coffee bitter, without any sugar at all.
And so if you hadn't downed the cup of bitterness to the dregs before you die, your friends do it for you. How charming.
Darling?
I want a child. I'm a woman. I want a child. I want us to have a child.
We've tried. You know that. You can't have children.
You don't know it's me, Eric. We could adopt.
All right. Granted, we could, but look at our finances. I've got about £50 in the bank. I owe over 300.
A child isn't an economic transaction.
Marx would disagree.
Marx was a thwarted rabbi who hated God and most people.
Apart from his daughter and Engels.
Marx used Engels. Marx used everyone, just like you do, Eric.
I don't believe that's true.
Prove it, then.
We didn't come here to talk about children. Not for my health, either. Not just for my health.
No. The flies are back, more than ever.
Are we going to say it or not?
We're here for Georges Kopp, because we ran out on him in Barcelona. And now he's free, and...
Ran out on him. It's a Yankee expression. Makes us sound like gangsters.
Stop it. Who cares what we sound like? We deserted him. We saved our own skins, and now...
All right. You look a bit...
It's just the flies, that's all. They're hateful. What does Marx say about them? They're useful, because...
We deserted your lover. Is that what you think? And we didn't. We did all we could.
It wasn't very much, was it?
Oh, there's no point in talking this way.
I need to go back to the hotel. I need a doctor. I don't feel well. Eric, I think I'm sick. And if you tell me that in England we say unwell, I'll take my bloody coffee all over your sanctimonious self-pitying.
Monsieur, l'audition.
Combien je vous dois, docteur?
On réglera ça plus tard. Au revoir, monsieur. Madame, je vous enverrai l'infirmière.
Merci.
I am sorry, darling. I've rather gone and ruined it all, haven't I?
You haven't done a thing, except play hostess to some virus or other.
Yes.
The doctor says you'll be up and about in a couple of days.
I feel awful. Those flies, I keep hearing the flies buzzing and buzzing and buzzing. Like that dreadful meeting.
Doesn't matter now. You must rest. Make yourself better. And I'll find a place near the mountains where the air's cooler, you'll see.
We'll be all right, won't we, Eric?
Of course we will.
Well, you'll write another book, and maybe this one will sell, and we'll be all right.
I could write 100 books, darling, but none of them would be worth a damn. I could go through the motions, They'd all be rubbish.
No.
Someone once said to me when I was tramping, the trouble with you, mate, is you're as crooked as a 9-bob note. I was a fake. Fraud is what he meant, and anything I write now, you see, is a fake. It's a fraud. I'm not a good man. Not even a very nice man. I've done discreditable things. What did you say earlier? Used people. What's worse, I've used people I love just the same as those I despise. I think I've done good work. A little. But you know, there's nothing worth a single damn that I've ever written that hasn't been about politics in one way or another. That's what I am. That's what excuses all the rest, if it ever can be excused. I am not about anything that isn't political. And now I'm not even that. Now I haven't even noticed that my wife has been asleep for 5 minutes, hasn't heard a single one of my hugely important, vital, epochal thoughts.
I heard everything, Eric. I always do. Now you must go. You have to meet George.
Can't he wait for one night? I could send a message.
He's been in a communist prison for almost 18 months. God knows what they've done to him. Go, Eric, you have to go. Now. And remember, he was your friend. He is your friend.
I should wait until the nurse arrives.
Go.
Marcus Aurelius once said, "What are we in the end except our jobs?"
Do you want me to get up and throw you out? Anyway, wasn't Aurelius a gloomy old bugger? Yes, I see. Now go.
Monsieur.
Je cherche Monsieur Georges Copp. C'est ici notre rendez-vous.
Monsieur Copp m'a demandé de vous dire qu'il sera sur la terrasse.
Ah, merci.
Monsieur, la terrasse, c'est pas là.
Do you mind if I join you?
Hola, comrade. It's good to see you.
Yes.
You still don't like being hugged, do you, Eric?
I don't really like being touched, on the whole. I don't. It's good to see you. Alive. Here. No, that's wrong. Where else would you be except the best hotel in town?
I'm a Marxist. Where else would I stay? I've never seen the need to punish myself for anything. After all, there are always one's comrades to do that. Sit. Have some wine, or would you prefer something stronger? You look tired.
It's nothing. Eileen is... She has a fever. She sends her apologies. What did you mean, comrades?
Comrades?
Don't be disingenuous, George. I know you. We've been under fire together. Damn it, you slept with my wife.
Is that what Eileen says? You know it isn't, because she would never speak in that manner.
Because she couldn't, or out of some kind of loyalty?
I notice you don't say out of love. What do you think of the wine?
It's filthy. Filthy like everything else in this damned country. If you ever needed to know how capitalism and tourism can destroy a culture, come to Marrakesh. Starving jackals leering at tasty, plump meat pies walking round all day. You know. Yeah, I'm surprised they don't eat people here. Snatch meaty Germans, tasty Swedes, garlicky frogs off the streets. And
what about stringy Englishmen?
Stringy Englishmen, yes, that's good. Marinated with black tobacco. Not a very tasty prospect, I think.
Eric, I will never ever say a word about my relationship with Eileen beyond this simple fact. I love you both. I'm not sure you love anybody, though there are those you respect, or respected, in Spain and elsewhere. But Eileen has a great heart. To say any more would be to dishonor us all.
And a Belgian would never do that? You are still a Belgian.
Did I ever say I was Belgian? I think I said I lived there, yes, for a while.
Is it possible to trust a single word you say?
Perhaps it is not quite the time for that much honesty between us.
We fought together on the Zaragoza front. We could have died together. Doesn't that at least mean anything?
It means a very great deal, my comrade. Far more than perhaps you understand.
Don't go all cow-eyed and mystical on me, Georges.
Oh, I am a practical man. I have ideas, you know, for many inventions.
To help humanity.
And to make a little money, too. The laborer is worthy of his hire. A washing machine, for instance.
Is that any use?
Think of the time it would save for millions of women.
I suppose so. What else would they do?
You are such an Englishman. They would become communists and rise up and create a new world.
As we did in Spain.
Perhaps we were the necessary sacrifice. Have you ever thought of that?
No.
Perhaps Stalin and the Comintern boys were right. Revolution in Spain. Land and freedom doesn't really matter in the face of the threat from Germany. It is vital there should be a united front against fascism. Who is not my enemy is my friend.
Does that mean anything at all?
I remember you asked me that in Barcelona as the communists were rounding us up and putting us in prison. And do you remember what I answered?
But it could mean anything they chose to make it mean. The last time we saw you in that jail, you asked me to tell them...
Tell them what happened here in Barcelona in the days of May 1937, when good men and women were betrayed by those they believed to be their comrades.
Yes, I did that. You see, I wrote the book, and almost no one read it, and the few who did shouted me down and called me traitor. All of us, the anarchists and the Trotskyists and all those who died on the Zaragoza front called us traitors and collaborators. You, Georges, they said it of you, and they still say it. The left-wing press, before we left England, published articles, dates, times, documents, witnesses. Men we knew and trusted who stood up and swore you were Franco's agent. Are you saying that was necessary because the party says we need a united front against fascism?
Perhaps what is not always what we wish it to be.
That would be fighting for clockwork, Georges.
Perhaps we live in a clockwork world.
Because clockwork doesn't bleed?
Well, I do. And bruise and weep and... Pain is a very effective tool. I've learned that. The human body is almost infinitely vulnerable and yet possesses quite amazing powers of endurance.
What happened to you? When they... in prison? What happened there, Georges? You know, Eileen thinks we let you down. We should have tried harder to get you out of that prison.
In that, your wife is wrong. Perhaps she lets her feelings rule her heart in the matter. Well, I honor her for it, but... There I found a new world. Or perhaps rediscovered it. A world where the heart no longer exists. And at the center is... You are right, of course, Eric, as you so often are. Only clockwork.
Tell me.
Yes. But not here. Come. We'll find somewhere better.
Where are we?
In the city. Where else? The real city, in a way, if there still is one. Garçon, deux cafés, s'il vous plaît. Like Barcelona in the early days. A city of the people. Truly of the people. You remember it, Eric. Of course you do. The sense that for the first time in history, here was...
A city where the working class was in the saddle. You could see it at once.
And see that it was worth fighting for.
Yes.
Come, let's sit.
Like Barcelona in May, where the waiters called you sir again instead of comrade, where the secret police cruised the streets and arrested enemies of the people who just risked their lives fighting for the people.
Ah, the people had changed. It happens.
Smoke?
Try one of these.
Thank you. You never used to roll your own, Georges?
A habit I picked up in prison where tobacco was scarce.
What is this?
A local strain. You'll find it interesting, I'm sure.
I used to find everything interesting. Now I find it hard to care about anything.
I don't think that's true.
Even so.
Even so. You want to know what happened.
Did they...
In the end, of course they did. It's what they do. I think they would, even if there was no possible need for it. Merci. People have told stories around here in these cafes, these streets out under these stars for as long as there have been stories to tell. I think it was here that literature first came into our world. From people who tried to make sense of their world under these stars, drinking thick, sweet coffee.
You should have been the writer. Then you could have been paid to lie.
It takes more than money to make a good liar. Shall I tell you a story?
Is it a true story?
As true as the pain from a wooden stave smashed into your elbow repeatedly. Believe me, it gets the attention. Pain has a way, as you know, of holding the floor at these meetings.
I think I'm forgetting what it was like.
I pray you never get reacquainted. After you saw me at the Falcon Hotel, after I'd been arrested by the communist militias, they kept us there for weeks, waiting. It does something to you. Waiting without knowing. Will they let me go? Will I be tried? If so, for what? Will they question me? Let a man get hungry, run down, listless, then wake him up very early one morning and take him somewhere else. Do you see what I mean? In a truck, not knowing where you're going, where you are beyond the fact that you're in a cell, and you think, how can they find in these times one cell for me alone? Am I special in some way that I've been given this space?
You were in solitary confinement.
Being alone is not good for us, Eric. We turn inwards on ourselves. We become inward grown. Is that the expression?
Ingrown. Like a nail growing back into the skin.
Exactly. In the end, I was even happy to see my interrogator. Well, for a few minutes.
What did they want from you?
Everything. He was a Russian, a man from Moscow. I thought, goodness me, they've sent in the checker. They must think I'm important. That was my mistake. I was nothing. The same interrogator would handle a street sweeper from Cadiz, a shepherd from the backlands. It was made very clear to me that I was nothing and no one and might vanish in a moment like a speck of dust.
If he was Russian, he
did not know I could speak the language. That was his mistake. He had tried to speak through a translator. They wanted me to admit my crimes. Oh, simple stuff. Being part of a fascist cabal, being a wrecker, aiding Trotskyist infiltrators, poisoning the water, releasing deadly gas at Communist Party meetings. Anything, really.
It's absurd, all of it.
15, sometimes 18 hours a day after day. Your crimes are obvious, cop. You know what you did. What did I do? You know what you did. Bang, bang, admit it. What did I do? You know what you did.
Did you sign anything? I'm sure I would have done. Anyone would.
Oh, there were times I would have signed my mother's death warrant. Actually, there were times I would have done that while standing at the Ritz. But yes, I would have signed. Anyone would. It's human. You can only bear so much. But that was no good, because in my heart I would have known it was a lie, and they knew it too. That's the secret, Eric. You don't accuse a man with facts and dates and witnesses, no. You simply accuse him and allow the man himself to build up the story from within. Because only in that way will he come to believe in his heart in the absolute truth of the charge. And then, of course, he will begin to accuse those whose participation supports his guilt as he must, or everything is lost. You, Eileen, many of our comrades.
What happened, Georges, in the end?
In the end, I think I was saved from the worst because, this will sound strange, because of the simple fact my interrogator could not speak directly to me, so he believed, but had to pass everything through an interpreter. He spoke in Russian. I answered in French or even English sometimes. Do you see, if he had controlled the language as well as the room, then it would have been as if he owned my thoughts. And there would have been nothing to stop him reaching into my mind and doing anything he chose.
Who owns the word owns the world. There's no chance that the fascists and communists use language to force people into thinking exactly as they want. It's perfect. Did anyone ever, before our time, even contemplate stealing a whole language?
It's a long time since I saw you laugh, my dear comrade.
It's a long time since there was anything to laugh about.
Only it's not really very funny. Who steals the language steals my words. I have nothing left to speak with except a criminal tongue. Is there food? I'm rather hungry.
Garçon, peut-être un plat de mamoule.
The interrogation stopped? They left you alone?
No. They simply tried a different method. There was a coal bunker in the yard of the prison. Cramped, windowless, icy at night, burning in the day. Perpetual dark, rotting food. And worse. They put me in there, gave me bread, a little stale water, and left me to the rats.
Rats?
I swear I thought they would eat me alive. This carpet, this stink of rats. Have you ever smelled it so thickly you could taste it? Endlessly running. I couldn't stand without bending, but I stood for days and nights as they ran. And then, afterwards I found it was only 12 days. Someone shouted down, "We're taking you out tonight. To shoot you."
I hate rats.
Everyone hates rats. Even the god of rats hates rats. That's why they're rats. But they did not shoot me. And after that I was moved from camp to camp. I know that outside...
Your friends were working for you.
If not then, perhaps I would still be there. But they let me go one day, for no more reason than they arrested me. And here I am. Merci. Are you all right? Not feeling ill?
No, it's the rats, that's all. How could you stand it, George?
Well, for one thing, I may hate rats, but I don't fear them. Now, if it had been... But perhaps I shall not tell you what I fear most.
Joe, if you could find that for each man, you'd have the key to everything. Is it late? I really should be back. Eileen will...
The kif changes your sense of time. Though on the whole, I think it is benign.
Then maybe it can show me where to go now. How to speak in a language I no longer own.
You worry too much, Eric. Here, take the smoke deep.
Thank you. My lungs aren't really made for deep anymore. The taste is not unpleasant.
I believe Hassan al-Sabah, the founder of the Order of Assassins in the 13th century, used to give his followers something similar. They would smoke and wake in a beautiful garden, and then sleep. And when they woke, the old man of the mountains, as he was known, would tell them they had seen paradise.
England's the only garden I ever wanted. Going back to it, after Burma, after Spain, it always somehow soothed my soul. Men are like flowers in the garden, that stand and grow where the gardener hath planted them. They have upon each of them the dew of heaven, which being shaken by the wind they let fall their dew at each other's roots, whereby they are jointly nourished, and become nourishers of one another.
You are a gardener?
Always have been. That's not me, though. That's John Bunyan. Good man of Bedford. He was a prisoner. I'm certain he was a gardener, too.
Was he a Marxist, this Bunyan?
He was a dreamer. You know, Georges, I once walked England on the tramp with this mate and that. And as we walked,
Come on, wake up.
I'm wet. Did it rain?
Just the do. You're covered with snail tracks. They must like you.
Is that good fortune or something?
No, just means they like you. If snails likes anything other than green leaves, but he hated snails, my dad.
Your dad?
Gardener he was. Veg and stuff. Snails and slugs, see? Gardener's enemy.
Oh, it's a fine morning. Do you want some water?
I want a cup of char, that's what I want.
Come on, let's get going. I knows a place where they'll give us char and a wad if we're lucky. Right. Here, roll some butts. That'll set you up.
Do you know a place for everything, Tommy?
Except salvation.
Do you want salvation?
It's harder for the likes of you, I reckon. Some of us, we was born for it.
Did you never have a job, Tommy?
Oh, I was in the war. I joined up at 16, I did. 1917. Saw whole regiments who wouldn't fight no more. They never told you that, did they? You ask me. The Yanks hadn't a come in. We'd have lost. I was a boxer in the army.
Yes.
Middleweight. Had a future, I reckon, till I got the gas. Couldn't last out but 3 rounds after that. Lungs gone to glory. Only place they fight 3 rounds, you know. Booth fighter at the fairground. 20 fights a night. Pay a tanner, get a bob if you stay on your feet against the pro. That was me. £5 if you flaws the fighter. Never happened, of course. But after a few years, well, only thing I could see was straight. Road, Pilgrim. And being outdoors. Loved that, I did. I do. A fella can breathe out there.
You won't be able to do it forever, Tommy.
Sufficient unto the day. Isn't that it? The flowers don't flog themselves to make a penny, and neither does Tommy Cook. Aye, and one day they'll find me dead under a hedge, and you know what, Pilgrim? I hopes they leave me there to rot. That'd suit me just fine.
Do you believe in life after death?
My horse, but you've got a lot of questions, ain't you, Pilgrim? I know you never get tired of asking stuff.
Well, I only want to know what you think, what it's like for you, Tommy.
Aye, well, most folk don't. I'll give you that, but I'll tell you something more. Most folk, on the road at least, don't go asking. They leave a white to itself. If he want you to know, he'll tell you. That's why fields have hedges, ain't it now?
Didn't farmers make hedges to keep people off the land?
If that's all you know, Pilgrim, then you don't know much. Look at it. You think someone made it, and all the things that live in it? Listen.
No, sorry.
Come closer.
Yes.
Shrews. Running through the dry leaves. You'll never see them, but you can hear them. They grew. Air, Pilgrim. The hedges, the fields, the trees. Oh, some white may have planted them one time, but they did the growing. They made themselves what they is, and well, you might come along and plat the edge. You see, they done it there. It's only a haircut, and it goes on growing. If I had to, I could live off what's in the hedge for 6 months. You all right there?
Yes, I just have to sit down for a while, Tommy. That's all. I'm tired, just tired, but I'll be fine in a while.
Yeah, of course you will. Everything needs a rest. That's why we have winter, innit? Then it's time to start growing again, because we'd all be in the shite, it wasn't, eh?
You go on. I'll be with you in a while.
I'll get that cuppa and a nice wad set up for us, eh?
Yes.
Want me leave you some baccy?
No, it's fine. It's all fine.
Aye, well, look after yourself, Pilgrim, because no other bugger will, eh?
Were you sitting up all night? You were?
No. Sorry, I'm afraid I went to sleep. I don't think the nurse came.
No, you were there. I remember. I must have woken. I saw you. I was glad you were there. I was glad I wasn't alone.
How do you feel?
Is there some water? I'm parched.
Yes, of course. This is clean. Drink this.
It's better.
Yes.
I feel drained, but me. I feel like me. More, please. I was thinking about Georges' letter, about what he describes, the interrogation, the rats, all of it. I think we should go to Paris and see him. Or at least invite him to come to England to stay with us.
You don't feel we let him down anymore?
I think we did all we could, under the circumstances. What about you?
I walked through the wilderness of this world, and I lighted on a certain place, and I laid me down in that place to sleep. And as I slept, I dreamed. And behold, I saw a man clothed with rags standing with his face from his own house, a book in his hand and a great burden upon his back. I looked and saw him open the book and read therein.
Pilgrim's Progress. I don't understand.
Do you see, darling, you can't impose socialism on people or steal their words from out their mouths. You have to let it grow from the soil, from the people and their character. That's what an English socialism means. That's what Catalonia meant. Maybe that's what Trotsky means. I don't know, but I believe. I hope George understood that in his way. And I think I'm beginning to understand what I have to do.
Yes.
What?
I think I'm beginning to understand what I have to do.
But if I was beginning to glimpse the road ahead, there were still many miles of the road Eileen and I had walked together that I did not understand. I did not know how we had come to be where we were, or how together we might arrive at our destination.
In the real George Orwell, Dreaming, Eric Blair was played by Joseph Milson, Eileen Blair by Lindsay Marshall, Georges Kopp by Ewan Bailey, and Tommy by Paul Stonehouse, with Ben Crowe and Will Howard. The real George Orwell, Dreaming, was written by Mike Walker and directed by Jeremy Mortimer. The Real George Orwell, Loving, by Jonathan Holloway, with Joseph Milson as Eric Blair.
Unfairness and the English class system are high on the list of hatreds that propel me. But what I wanted most, truly, was to be loved and desired. Eileen, my wife, she was the only person I could imagine being constantly close to. Sadly, I do not believe Eileen ever really understood throughout our time together in Spain, and during the war, just how much I thought of her opinion, and how much influence her intelligence had upon me. I've already told you about our time fighting Franco and hiding out from Stalin's agents in Morocco, and how badly affected we both were by our experiences. But what I have not explained is the great arc of our relationship. I haven't shown you how she suffered me with such elegance, right from the beginning.
Good night, Lydia. Good night, Eileen. See you tomorrow. Don't be late. It's Lucas in the lecture this time.
Don't worry.
Night.
I hung around in the hope you might let me walk you to the bus stop.
Ooh. Chivalry?
Self-interest.
Well, let's go then. Do you prefer Eric Blair or George Orwell?
I prefer George, but everyone calls me Eric. What's your second name?
O'Shaughnessy.
Nice. And you're from South Shields?
Yes.
Family?
mother, father, and a grown-up brother. He wouldn't approve of you. He's a surgeon and an instinctive fascist.
I'd like to meet him.
No, you wouldn't. What do you think of Lydia?
Nice enough.
I think she's very attractive. And that Russian accent is a knockout.
Would you like a cigarette?
I'm afraid yours are a bit strong for me. Perhaps they're a bit strong for you, too. I heard about your Down and Out book. That sounds interesting.
That's the kind of thing I'm passionate about.
Social issues.
If you like. That Lydia gave me a funny look.
Yes. She's suspicious of you.
Then she's a good judge of character.
She said you looked moth-eaten and prematurely aged.
Cruel. Well, Rosalind said you flunked Oxford, only managed a second.
That's cruel, too.
The Oxford thing puts you up in my estimation. Bloody place. Are you going to let me, are you going to let me kiss you?
Perhaps. Tomorrow night.
Do we have a tomorrow night, do you think?
If you like.
How old are you?
28. How old are you?
33 in June.
So, what's next?
Rosalind, I suppose, if nothing better comes along.
You know I didn't mean that.
Another book. A factual novel, I suppose you'd call it. Burmese Days, out next month.
What's it about?
The 5 years I wasted variously slaughtering wildlife, hanging bemused peasants, and watching pink British colonial snobs broiling in the sun.
I don't understand.
5 years in the colonial police.
Not the career I'd expect for a socialist writer.
Why do you imagine I became one?
Do you have any more great political acts on your dance card?
There's going to be a war in Spain.
Oh.
Churchill will sell British weapons to the fascists. I think next year I shall go there as part of the International Anti-Fascist Volunteer Force.
That sounds dangerous.
Probably is. Marry me?
Don't be ridiculous. You can have a kiss, though.
Can I touch you?
Where?
There?
No.
Right.
But tomorrow, perhaps.
Tomorrow. There's a lot to look forward to.
Night.
Night.
Tomorrow, then.
Yes.
Night.
Good.
So, does it feel good to be back home in Wallington?
It's wonderful, yes. After all, it doesn't get much more English than this, does it? The countryside and the working people. Eileen and I were married in the village church, you know.
Oh. But surely it's a bit tame after all your adventures.
Wonderfully tame.
I feel like I'm in danger of living my whole life without experiencing anything really exciting.
I think Hitler might have different ideas about that.
Oh, dear. I suppose he might.
Mind you, I saw some wonderful things in Spain that Franco and Hitler won't ever erase.
Oh.
I saw freedom.
Well, Mr. Orwell.
Eric.
Really?
Yes, please. After all, we're friends now.
Well, yes. Eric.
Yes.
I'd like to ask you a little more about Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean to say, you saw lots of jolly distressing things. Has it been difficult for you both to adjust since you got back to England? And it's really the personal legacy I want to know about. What it gave you as a writer.
Oh, it's really very impressive you chose that word in this context.
Oh, good. I mean, is it? What did I say?
You called me a writer. You didn't ask me how my nerves had been affected. You didn't ask me how watching the left mired in an internecine conflict that resulted in the murder of many good, dedicated men and opened the door to fascism across Europe affected me as a husband, perhaps someday as a father, perhaps even as a human being. No, you asked me what it did to me as a writer. That shows you understand the integrity of my writer's voice, founded in direct observation, a dogged commitment to describing injustices that are self-evident once they're pointed out to you. That is the essence of what I must do.
Really?
In actual fact, I think I'm gestating a book in which I shall expose the Soviet myth in a manner that can be understood by everyone.
Oh, how are you going to do that?
Haven't decided yet. Perhaps some sort of allegory might be in order.
Oh.
I've got a notion of something to do with animals. I'm thinking of setting it in a farm up the road from here, Manor Farm.
Intriguing.
A kind of parable that will wake people up to the dangers of totalitarianism. Perhaps the animals will take over the farm.
I want to read it already.
You're a very clever young lady. Would you like another of our homemade bran biscuits?
There's only one left.
My dear, we live in the cottage attached to the shop my wife Eileen runs. We sell our own produce. She's barely 12 feet away from us right now. There we are.
Oh. I'm surprised you still smoke.
Why?
Your throat. The wound you got in Spain.
Well, smoking doesn't make any difference.
Those smell unusual.
I roll my own. It's French black tobacco. I developed a taste for it.
Of course. The life of a plongeur. I think you are very noble.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Well, you're certainly a man, well, of the people.
I try.
Oh, golly. I don't want to sound too gushing, but I just have to say I was absolutely thrilled with the road to Wigan Pier. It blew my socks off. The landlady so fat she couldn't move. The poor men selling newspaper subscriptions, away from their homes, living off bacon fat.
I think you're a very kind person, Dorothy. Empathy. You have it.
There's just one more thing, though. About the pen name, sort of thing.
Go on.
Well, why, really?
Well, if my writing was going to include controversial subjects, then I didn't want to make it too easy to track me down.
I see.
It's a shock to find yourself on Stalin's death list, you know.
Heavens above!
And then I also wanted something that smelled of old Albion. George Orwell did the job. All those rounded sounds, all those O's.
I was wondering if you feel you hide behind Mr. Orwell.
What?
In the Freudian sense. Does Orwell mask your own failings? Is he a way of overcoming elements of your past that cause neurosis? Or behaviours you find frightening and out of control, that perhaps contradict what you feel you really stand for?
Such big questions, eh?
Oh, I hope I haven't...
Did you bring a coat?
Just a cardigan. Do you think I might be able to come back?
Certainly. I have the telephone number for your porter's lodge in Hall. I'll give you a ring.
Oh,
It's been a pleasure, Miss Malone.
Well, goodbye, then.
Goodbye.
Make sure you mark the eggs with a pencil. We need to know how old they are. I had a complaint today. We'd sold some that were black inside.
I hate this job.
We'll soon have been in Wallington for 5 years. You know, I'm sure it's me, Eric.
What is?
Oh, darling, don't make me say it.
Really doesn't matter, Eileen. Besides, this is no time to bring a child into the world. This place might be bombed flat by the end of the summer. And you know how your nerves have been since we got back. But before that, in fact, before we left Spain, I don't believe we ought really to put you through it.
If I can't have a baby of my own, I'd like us to consider adopting someone else's. Some poor little mite who needs to be loved. Just like I need to love him or her.
Really?
What do you think?
I don't know what I think.
At least it's not an outright no.
Thank you for coming out to visit me, Lydia Vitalyevna Jabertovich-Jackson. You've got a beautifully impressive name. I do like the sound of it.
To be truthful, Eric, I don't know why I came.
I take it as a great compliment.
We are not having an affair, Eric.
Aren't we?
And I don't want you to be putting your hand down my blouse, like you tried to do when I visited you at that sanatorium in Kent. Barely a year after you married poor Eileen.
Understood.
Who's that on the bicycle?
No idea.
Supposing we are seen and someone tells Eileen. I couldn't bear it. And my husband.
It's just nice to see you.
And I don't want you trying to kiss me either.
Of course, of course.
Well, tell me what you're up to.
Hmm?
You know I'm interested in your work.
I'm thinking about a prophetic novel. There will be two principal characters.
Mhm.
I'm one of them, sort of thing. It's a prediction floated on a doomed love story.
So it's you and the girl.
Yes?
What's she like?
Very sexy, but in an heroic way. Her sexual... I was going to say promiscuity, but that's not right. She makes love as an act of defiance.
Oh, dear. I don't think I want to hear about that anymore.
I've never wanted to take advantage of you.
Hasn't stopped you trying.
I know you would.
No, I wouldn't.
I realize yellow tombstone teeth and bad breath aren't that attractive.
Don't make me out to be shallow.
Why would you agree to come down here if you didn't want me? Really want me? Why would you betray Eileen like this?
I should go. This wasn't a good idea.
At the TB, I need to push back death. And part of that means seeing myself reflected in women's eyes.
I ought not to have come. I don't know why I did. Eileen is beautiful and clever. You're very lucky.
You're not here as my conscience.
Oh, then for God's sake, get off the subject of sex. Tell me something about the animal book.
I've decided my point of departure shall be a statement from Marx's economic and philosophical manuscripts of 1844, in which he says, the worker no longer feels himself anything but an animal. What is animal becomes human, and what is human becomes animal.
Go on.
I'm going to shine a searchlight on Stalin's cruelty and the crimes of Soviet communism.
Oh, God in heaven, it's that bicycle again. That is not an accident, Eric. We've been rumbled.
Hello, Lydia.
Eileen!
Do you mind if I come in?
Oh, of course not. How nice. How absolutely nice.
I feel as if we don't see nearly enough of each other these days.
Oh, me too. Absolutely.
I want to talk to you, and I'm not sure you'll want to hear what I have to say.
Do you? Oh, dear.
What do you mean, oh, dear?
Oh, it was just, an exclamation. I didn't mean anything by it.
Oh, no, of course not. I seem to be seeing ghosts around every corner.
Ghosts?
Ghosts of Eric's past, his relationships. His affairs, too, apparently.
Oh.
That's why I need to talk to you, Lydia.
Oh, God. Is it?
Are you going to sit down?
If you want me to.
Well, it's your house. Do what you like.
Oh.
Now then. His affair. What do you know about it? Don't pretend. I know what's going on.
Do you? Oh, dear. Well, what can I say? I'm so terribly sorry.
There's no need to apologise. It's not as if it's your fault.
Isn't it?
Of course not. It's that ridiculous Brenda Solkeld. Gym mistress? From St. Felix's Girls' Grammar School?
Oh, really? Her? I mean, how terrible.
Why do clever men get obsessed with stupid women? I've seen a photo of her with her silly grin and wrinkled dance tights, posing like a sixth-rate ballerina.
But how do you know?
Well, Eric has always gone on about her. And I know they exchange letters. I don't know what to do.
Well, perhaps it's just something he... Oh, I don't know. Something he needs in some way. And it will vanish as quickly as it came.
I know women can be silly over Eric. I imagine they want to have sex with him just to cheer him up. Well, do you think that's true?
I don't know. Perhaps.
As a rule, Eric seems not to understand the idea of love-making.
Why is that? If you don't mind me asking.
No, of course not. Well, he's very to the point. I wouldn't mind so much if we had a baby out of it, but we haven't. And it doesn't look like we shall. And there's not much fun in it for me, as you might say.
I see.
What do you make of Eric?
You remember when Rosalind invited him to her party in 35?
Yes. I suppose you might say it's all Rosalind's fault.
Well, I've never mentioned it, but we were a bit appalled when you and him got so close so quickly.
Why?
Rosalind and I felt that he was seedy. But you know, after the party, he told Rosalind that you were the sort of girl he'd like to marry.
Yes. Yes, I thought we were like swans, partnered for life.
I think you are. I believe you should treasure that. I told him off, you know.
When? What for?
For deciding to abandon his new young wife and run off to Spain, chasing moonshine.
Well, thank you. But it didn't make much difference. You know, he carries much worse scars from Spain than the bullet hole in his neck. And so do I, for that matter. It's one of ours.
If it wasn't, someone would be shooting at it.
Poor old London. Looks so bloody bashed about.
You all right?
You know, darling, it's not even 8 weeks since Lawrence died at Dunkirk.
Yes, it's a shame.
You despise my brother's politics.
Yes, well...
It would help if I knew you understood. I don't like this flat.
I know, it's too pokey. But it's better than being with your family in Greenwich.
Have you written to that woman yet?
Which woman?
You know perfectly well who I'm talking about.
Do you mean Brenda?
Of course.
No, I haven't.
Why not?
Because I am not carrying on with her behind your back. And even if I was, I wouldn't, go behind your back. It would all be out in the open.
Oh.
If such a thing happened, I would expect you to understand it's you I love, and time spent with the likes of Brenda would be an entirely different matter, and something you ought not to be concerned about.
What would you think if I said that to you?
We're not so very different, Eileen. What about you and Georges Kopp? He was so kind in Spain, wasn't he?
Don't be a pig. Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot. You're the only one who's allowed to have flexible morals.
Look, I want to speak to you about something that actually matters.
Well, your juvenile chasing after women actually matters to me.
Oh, please listen to me. There are some things that have made us both vulnerable.
Are you talking about Spain? What's happened?
I'm not talking directly about Spain. Although I'm sure Churchill will prosecute this war with all the vigour it needs, there is a powerful element in the British establishment that still instinctively supports Hitler. And while they're keeping their heads down, you can be sure they're working away discrediting the likes of us and just waiting their moment to crawl out and sound off about making peace with the Nazis.
Perhaps you ought to keep your opinions to yourself for a while.
Well, absolutely. I'm determined to get a job at the BBC. I expect I'll be able to broadcast to the Far East. After all, that's what I know about. It'll all be about supporting the war effort. Even though my lungs will keep me out of the army, there is a way I can serve. Propagandize the idea we are true patriots and at the same time contribute to the building of a people's militia which could fight a partisan war to deal with fascism and the class system in one go.
What on earth are you talking about?
I'm going to join the local defence volunteers.
What, the Dad's army?
Absolutely.
I thought you were going to France to be a spy.
That's all fallen through. Hello?
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 Who is it?
Shush.
George.
Shush.
With whom am I speaking?
This is George Orwell here.
This is Detective Summerfield of the Vice Squad. I took away those dirty Henry Miller books you imported.
Oh, yes.
In actual fact, I'm telephoning to make sure you're all right.
I'm fine. What made you think I might not be?
Have you heard about Leon Trotsky?
Trotsky? I know his work intimately.
Are you aware Trotsky is dead?
What?
2 days ago, on the 20th of August, Trotsky was killed in his home in Mexico by a madman called Raymond Mercader, who attacked him with an ice axe. Are you there, Mr. Orwell?
Yes, I'm still here, Summerfield.
You have made a lot of enemies, Mr. Orwell. I think you need to be very careful.
Ought I to be thanking you?
That's your business. Call me an admirer. Goodbye.
Darling, you've gone white.
Trotsky is dead.
Oh, good heavens.
Stalin has to be discredited. Stalin and Trotsky. Pigs. Pigs who take over the farm. Manor Farm. Russia. The leader and his commissar, who then becomes an inconvenience and gets an ice axe through his skull. Before we get to the mortar drill, I want to draw your attention to 2 pamphlets I have written up and duplicated at my own expense. I would welcome a contribution from each of you to the printing costs and have left a tin by the hall door.
Fat chance, George.
Yes. Now, my first pamphlet is entitled Don't Let Colonel Blimp Ruin the Home Guard.
Hoorah!
Yes. Now, the second pamphlet is all about practical warfare, full of tips I picked up during the Spanish Civil War. For example, on the first page you'll find bombs are easier to throw downstairs than up, and note the behavior of bullets is different in a town from in open country. They nearly always ricochet and have a habit of coming round corners.
Can't we just get on and practice shooting things,
All right. Stop. Stand back now. Settle down, please. Right. Now, what you're looking at is the 2-inch mortar, an ordnance I've found myself on the business end of more than once.
Can we shoot it?
With such a short barrel, the normal firing method, where the bomb is dropped down the tube and a pin in the base of the barrel strikes the detonator in the tail of the bomb, will not work. So the firing pin is replaced with a trigger. Here.
Can we shoot it? Go on! Hurry up!
The firer only has to line up in the direction of the target, and then he can discharge any number of bombs to devastating effect.
Are we going to shoot it?
Given the close proximity of numerous domestic dwellings, I think not. But we will rehearse the drill. Smith, I want you to come over here. That's it, come over here. Now, you steady the equipment from the from the right side, while you, Bailey, you hold the projectile in the mouth of the barrel. Just don't let go quite yet. It's a devil to fish the thing out.
Oi, Reg, you drop that shell, it'll take out a row of semis, mate.
Yes, absolutely. Now, if we were really going to do this, he would then release the shell into the barrel, move around to the rear to sight the target, and when ready, depress the trigger. I'm going to let you rehearse all of that. So the first thing is just to let the shell slide gently into the barrel. That's it. Go on. Yep. Yes.
Look what you've done!
Yes.
That's my uncle's garage!
Right. Well, I think perhaps this isn't the SBML 2-inch mortar. Can anyone tell me how I know that?
Eileen.
Eric. What's the matter?
Eileen.
Yes, I'm here.
Eileen.
It's me, darling. Open your eyes, Eric.
I was back in Spain. We were in Guernica.
You and I?
Yes.
I don't know what you mean.
Except I don't think it was Spain. I got shot in the neck again.
Eric? You were shot in the trenches near Seatamo, not in Guernica. It's 1944. You're here. You're in London.
You're right. You're right. It wasn't Guernica. It was King's Cross.
Poor darling. It was a dream. Things get mixed up in dreams. Come on, lie down.
It's no good. I won't sleep now. I can't go back to sleep once I'm woken.
A cup of tea.
Please. You know we can't stay in London.
Of course we can't. I've been saying that, and you haven't listened to me. We were lucky when we were bombed out of Mortimer Crescent. We have to get back up to County Durham. So we're there when the Newcastle adoption people say we can have our baby.
All right, if it makes you feel safer.
And of course, I have to be up there for my hysterectomy.
I keep forgetting. How are you?
The pain comes and goes. Routine stuff. It vindicates you. On the business of us not having a family, poor darling.
Eileen.
I didn't mean that in a nasty way.
Listen. I'm sorry, but if Animal Farm doesn't get a publisher, then we'll have to come back to London, at least until I can find someone to get the book out.
You knew Galance wouldn't publish it. Why did you waste time on him?
I felt I had to give him the option.
Now everyone's mad keen on Uncle Joe Stalin and the heroic Red Army. It's the worst possible time to be trying to get a book like Animal Farm published.
We're running out of choices. I didn't tell you. T.S. Eliot wrote to me from Faber and Faber. It's over there in the drawer.
Did you deliberately hide this?
Of course not. Yes. Go on, read it.
We have no conviction that this is the right point of view from which to criticise the political situation at this present time. The bastard.
Cowardly bloody bastard.
You said Jonathan Cape was interested.
So he was. Now he's decided to turn us down after consulting an important official.
What important official? Where?
Your old place. The Ministry of Information. You know who it is, don't you?
Peter Smollett?
Must be.
Oh.
Head of the Ministry's Russian service. Of course he bloody is. And he's thick with that little Cambridge twerp, Philby, who was in Spain in 1937, reporting on the fascist side. And I guarantee you they're both in Stalin's back pocket and on the blower to the NKVD every 5 minutes. Thank God I got out of the BBC. The place is stuffed with traitors.
Why don't we publish it ourselves?
Well, I've still got a chance with Secker and Warburg. He said it's a risk, but he hasn't said no.
Who hasn't?
Warburg. He's already been accused of being a Trotskyite because he publishes the kind of stuff that pro-Soviets don't like. I really believe it's worth hanging on here to find out what happens. Oh, listen. Last week, I met a chap at the Dickens conference they invited me to. His name is David Astor, screamingly rich fireside socialist, loves my work, as it turns out, and I said I wanted to get away somewhere, and he suggested an island, Jura, about 30 miles long, north of Islay, off the west coast of Scotland.
Golly.
What?
I was thinking of Northumberland. Oh, darling, surely. Somewhere easy and close to the A1.
We don't have to do anything about it now. Let's get you back up to Newcastle as soon as we can for the operation. Astor went on about the spiritual quality of isolation. I think he's right. And we'd be safe. We could see people coming.
Who?
Assassins.
Oh, Eric.
Just don't worry about it for now. Let's get you well.
For God's sake.
Hmm?
Don't look like that when we go to the adoption agency.
Like what?
Mad as a March hare.
I just got a telegram. Delivery chap was post.
He's asleep. Look at his sweet little cheeks. Rosy little apples.
His tiny prawn fingers wrapped around yours.
Let's leave him to sleep. So, who sent us a telegram?
It's all right. It's from Astor.
Oh, what about that Scottish island again?
No, he wants me to go to France for the Observer to cover post-liberation events in Paris.
1945. The year of our baby. Richard's year. Our baby.
What a year. Germany defeated. Animal Farm ready for publication.
Has Warburg given you a date?
Well, there's a paper shortage. He doesn't reckon it could be printed before August. So. Tummy?
Yes.
Not long now till the op, is it?
March.
March? I'll be away in Paris by then.
Fine. I feel perfectly safe now we're back up here. I was afraid you wouldn't be able to love him.
Why?
No, don't worry. I want to give you a compliment, actually. Now we've got Richard, and he's such a delightful and vulnerable little mite. You have made me feel really very safe, Eric.
Have I?
I can see the love in your eyes. I've seen what's supposed to take place when one has a child of one's own, when the whole world turns on its axis and it's no longer about you. It's about the little babe.
Yes.
I saw that in you, and I know for certain that you love Richard and me very much indeed.
I've never asked you to forgive me for my dead sperm. I'm sorry I didn't find out sooner. There are many things I've known I ought to atone for, but I'm not as big as you. I find it difficult to apologise.
I don't need an apology. I was very scared in Spain, then in Morocco, and I took it out on you. It was my fault. I didn't realise what I was getting into. You might be ridiculous, but you are very brave, too.
You'll be careful in hospital, won't you?
It's not going to be up to me, is it? And I'm not worried. They do so many hysterectomies and that sort of thing at Fernwood House. I'm sure it's like a conveyor belt. And Jesmond is cosy. It's a bit like this, actually.
Not as bloomin' isolated. Will you write to me when you're there, please? Will you?
Eric, are you in here? Are you alone?
Yes, quite alone.
Baby Richard is with your sister. Shall I put the light on?
Oh, please don't. I was looking for my old war comics earlier on. Couldn't find them. Typhoon, Hotspur, How to Disassemble a Sten Gun in Total Darkness. Perhaps Eileen threw them out. Perhaps perhaps they perished in the Abbey Road flat.
Are you sure you're right, Eric? Shall I stay? Would you prefer to be left alone?
I'm not going to lunge at you, don't worry. I need you to understand something about us.
Us?
Listen. I have always found you very attractive. And once the shock of all this passes, I'm sure I will do again.
Do you think this is really the right...
There is no God. There is no purpose.
You've got your little boy.
How is he?
He's asleep. I said your sister's sitting with him. You're really going to live on that island, Jura? Such an isolated location, such a little baby.
Yes, yes. Because apparently I'm going to be famous now.
Animal Farm has been well reviewed. It seems that your time has come. Oh, I love your work, Eric.
There's talk of it being published in America.
That's marvelous.
I'm told I'm a favourite with the American Office of Strategic Services. They're going to be called the Central Intelligence Agency.
Oh.
Apparently I'm their big anti-communist. I've given the intelligence services here a list of all the people I think might be pro-Stalin so they can keep an eye on them. Apparently they're very pleased with me.
Oh, I'm sure Eileen would have been very proud.
Well, I think she would have been perplexed, as indeed am I. Now I have to get on with 1984, before Stalin or my lungs kill me.
You've got plenty of time left.
Just about enough for one more big book.
Don't be silly.
I'm a lonely man, Lydia.
I know, Eric. Especially now.
She was the only living thing I could bear constantly beside me.
Oh, Eric. Is there anything you need me to do? Anything practical?
Read the letter she wrote before they took her into surgery, would you?
I'll have to put the light on.
No, you can't. I've turned the electricity off at the box. I don't want light. There's a short stick of candle on the corner of the desk. Yes, yeah.
Dearest, I'm just going to have an operation. Already animate, injected with morphine in the right arm, which is a nuisance. Cleaned and packed up like precious image in cotton wool and bandages. When it's over, I'll add a note to this, and it can go off quickly. Judging by my fellow patients, it will be a short note. This is a nice room. Ground floor, so one can see the garden. Not much in it except daffodils, but a nice little lawn. My bed isn't next to the window, but it faces the right way. I can also see the fire and the clock.
It stops, but there's no punctuation, so I think she must have gone to sleep for the operation. She knew what was in the garden, but it sounds like she couldn't see it very well. Always found the best in things. In me.
I think I ought to go now. Shall I come back tomorrow? Good night, Eric.
Will you doze in the chair tonight or go to bed?
Oh, there you are. I've missed you. I know what the book is now.
A warning?
I have to stay alive. Hold off the TB and the assassins.
By the way, I've definitely decided to name it after your poem. 1984.
I found that old pile of your comics. They're in the bottom of the small trunk, your school footlocker. They're all there. You could read them in bed.
Thank you.
You should try to sleep.
I'll get into bed soon.
I'll say good night then, darling. Sleep tight, little soldier. The fight is over for another day.
In The Real George Orwell, Loving, Eric Blair was played by Joseph Milson, Eileen Blair by Lindsay Marshall, Georges Kopp by Ewan Bailey, Lydia by Vera Filatova, Dorothy by Isabella Marshall, Inspector Summerfield by Dick Bradnam, and Len by Alan Raglan. The Real George Orwell, Loving, was written by Jonathan Holloway and was a BBC Cymru Wales production, directed by Kate McCall. The Real George Orwell. Juror by Jonathan Holloway, with Joseph Milson as Eric Blair.
Going to see the tern's nest I told you about?
I came 500 miles to talk to you.
Not to fumble my housekeeper, then?
That too. But mainly because I so admired you.
Sorry to disappoint. Will you see the tern's nest before you go, Holbrook?
No. My name is David.
But it's a shame. David, I think the terns are among our more remarkable attractions.
Does a life have a story attached? Does it really? I doubt it. A story is a lie, you see. It requires that facts are marshalled, summarized, distorted to fit a thesis. And that's what David Holbrook will do now. In his story, I shall be crafted by this moment of disappointment.
Susan's packing the cases. I expect we'll be off tonight.
There's no one here that can drive you to the ferry.
I realise that. She says we're going to walk over to Mrs. Fletcher's. Apparently she'll be able to take us to the ferry.
It's 7 miles.
I know.
With suitcases.
Yes.
It's going to rain.
Never mind.
And Susan has a limp.
They say that when you write a story, the ending is the most difficult part. For me, staying alive, not allowing the ending to come where it wants to, has become an ignominious, desperate struggle, like that of a character in a popular novel who is sinking in quicksand.
Yes. I was looking forward to seeing you very much.
As far as I'm concerned, you are just the pain in the backside who came up here to carry on with my housekeeper under my own roof.
It's not your roof. You just rent it. Susan is much more than a housekeeper.
Is she?
She's a thinker. Is that the real reason you hate me?
Pretty much. That and your foolish adherence to the Communist Party's slavish loyalty to Stalin. You must remember, I saw the real thing in Spain. I know what he's about. You lefty public schoolboys have no idea.
But you're a lefty public schoolboy too.
I had to write 1984, which is, if you like, my ending. It is a prophecy concerning what we shall become. It is peopled by those I knew in life, including myself. It is a story, and therefore a lie, but a lie stuffed with truth. The shysters and the hucksters will deny it. They will seek to hide the iniquity of their privileges. So after my darling Eileen died, I have come back to the remote island of Jura to struggle with 1984, to stay alive long enough to get it finished. Away from the filth of London and Stalin's stalking assassins, and of course instead, to be stalked in isolation by the filth of my own disease.
Were you sent here to spy on me?
No.
Something worse, then?
Absolutely not. That's absurd.
Is it?
Of course. Aren't you in the least bit worried what people will think of you when I tell them you used my manuscript to light the fire?
Not particularly. I don't like you, you see.
Then why did you let me look at 1984?
I hoped it might shock you out of your Stalinist nonsense. There was always the possibility you might say something enlightening. So what do you think?
There's not really a book, is there?
Is that irony?
Can't you tell?
You're not very expressive, are you?
Fine. It's at the end of my interview.
Come on, sit still.
Is there something you want to say?
Yes. Yes, there is.
Go ahead.
I'm frightened, David.
Of assassins like me?
It's the illness, you see. I'm worried it'll get me before the book is finished.
Then hadn't you better get off this godforsaken rock?
Here, I can imagine Eileen is still alive and just gone indoors to look after little Ricky. She'll be out in a moment. This place is... It's like the mythic Scottish island in Barry's Mary Rose, where time flows back and forth. In a busier place, Eileen would be obliterated.
Are you saying you're worried you'll die before you finish the novel?
Yes.
This island will kill you. Get back to London.
Eileen hated London. When this island is at its most beautiful, when the air is thick with the driving horizontal mist, it's then I hate this place. It is a sublimely powerful place, where human will has lost all hope. Everything is belittled by Jura's promiscuous decision to wipe the slate clean whenever the mood takes it, to flatten the beans, wash away the seedlings, set its rats on the chicks. We are overcome, defeated, and everywhere is death and bullying by a powerful unseen hand.
Then for God's sake, leave.
Look at the many plains of the hillsides overlapping into the distance. Then the grey strip of water protruding from behind our hill which makes a gully with its neighbour that frames the beach. Some days it lies, but I'm prepared to surrender to the prostitute's bad acting. Although I wasn't born to happiness, it provides a gruesome caricature of that condition, which is the best I might expect. Do you understand my illness, David?
Not really.
I planned a scene in 1984 where Winston Smith looks at himself in the mirror and cries at the sight of his scrawny, concave chicken breast.
I suppose you must have caught TB in Burma, along with pneumonia and so on.
It was Paris. It was that bloody hospital I was in while tramping about being a poor fellow. It was lying there in a ward of diseased Frenchies, coughing great fountains of poison straight up in the air, covering everything with a fine film of infected sputum.
How pleasant.
Don't get clever, you little bugger. This is me. Orwell spilling the beans. This might be your only great literary moment, David.
Calm down. I'm listening.
Back in England, escaped alive from the Spanish Civil War, I had a bout of hemoptysis.
What's that?
Coughing up of blood, originating from the respiratory tract below the level of the larynx. That's when I went off to Preston Hall to be treated by Eileen's brother Lawrence. She said he was one of nature's natural fascists, but he was still a bloody good doctor. He diagnosed bronchiectasis. Yes, it meant the lower half of my left lung was stuck open. Ossified, not functioning, kaput. And it was him, Lawrence, who confirmed TB by prodding about inside and injecting guinea pigs with the muck he found there.
Poor guinea pigs.
Don't like them. Bites are like electric shocks. The treatment was startling. I was swaddled in bandages so bloody tight I couldn't move, couldn't even scratch my backside. Agony. They put sandbags on my shoulders.
What the hell for?
Apparently, part of the problem with any sort of healing is human movement. We can't bloody sit still, you see. So our constant fidgeting stops tissues from knitting as they ought. By imprisoning one in a hateful state of itchy mummification, the stillness enables the body to fix itself. But it takes time. Enough time that most patients are sent insane by the experience and end up spending the rest of their short lives in secure psychiatric institutions.
That's terrible.
But useful to a storyteller. Winston gets tortured, strapped down. And of course, because it made me angry, then I went and undid all Lawrence's hard work. How? It's your turn. You say, how?
How?
In 39, I went to see a Harley Street quack called Herbert Morlock, and he said it was all nothing more than chronic bronchitis, that is. And of course I listened to his breezy optimism. No one with TB wants to think they've got a death sentence, and that bastard gave me the confidence to come here and work myself and Winston Smith into an early grave and undo all that Eileen's brother achieved. And now I think... I'm afraid I've determined my premature demise.
God help you, Eric.
Wish me luck.
That same kind of luck you wish me.
Oh, heavens, no. It'd be nice if you actually meant it.
Eric?
Yes, Avril?
Oh, it's been a lovely couple of days. No clacking typewriter, thank heavens. Marjorie would have loved it.
I'm not sure Humphrey would. No. I always feel disappointed when I remember our sister's married to a civil servant.
You sound like an old colonel in his club complaining about the lower middle classes.
Still, it's been nice to have Marjorie's children. Get on so well with Ricky.
Look, Daddy, it's a bed pillow.
Oh, it's a purse, Ricky. Purse, that's what mermaids keep their money in.
Mermaids?
Mm-hmm.
Mermaids? What's that?
A fish who's a lady who's a fish, Ricky.
A fish who's a lady who's a fish?
Quite a lot of wet stuff. The towels. Well, the tents haven't had a chance to dry off. Need to lay them out when we get back. I think I'll walk back with Jane. I've been worrying in case the weather changes tomorrow. I'd like to get the last of the hay in. When you're back, park the boat, give us a shout, and we'll help carry all this back up to the house.
Very well.
Besides, I think the boat was sitting rather low on the way round. She'll be safer without us.
Tide will be slack on the way back through the Sound. No dramatics anticipated.
Jane and I can be back and working within a couple of hours. It'll take you all morning to get round the headland.
Fine, that's not a problem. What do you reckon, Hen?
What do I reckon about what, Uncle Eric?
Don't call me Uncle, just plain Eric.
Sorry, Eric.
You'll do for a first mate in your aunt's absence, won't you?
Just don't ask me to navigate, that's all. My squad hopelessly lost North Bremen last month.
We'll be fine. I've calculated the tide. Just keep the land on our right shoulder. We'll be fine, eh, Henry?
Yes, sir.
If not, next stop, Iceland.
We'll be off then. Jane, you ready?
Just let me get my sack on and I'm with you. Bye-bye, Auntie.
Bye, Ricky. See you at home.
Bye. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Righto. Bye, Uncle Eric.
Bye, Jane. See you later. Lucy, can you get Ricky ready to move, do you think?
Righto. Shall I bring him down to you?
Yes, please. All right, everyone. Let's saddle up and get the boat in the water. All right, Henry? Take a hold. All right, Ricky, you snuggle.
That's the engine, too loud.
Henry, the bracket's loose. We might lose the engine.
But watch out, it's going!
All right, Ricky, you snuggle in. Losing the engine's fine. We've come up 6 inches without the weight of it. Good riddance, I say.
Good riddance.
Uncle, there's a whirlpool to the right. We're going straight for it.
Split us out the other side.
We have to make way.
What?
If we're not making way, moving forward under power, then we can't control the boat.
Get the oars out, Lucy. Swap places with Henry. Henry, get into the middle. Come on, it's up to you, Hen. It's all right, Ricky. Don't be sad. Don't both stand at the same time.
We're doing our best.
Dig in, Hen. That's it. I'll hang on to Ricky and the tiller.
Another whirlpool coming up. Uncle, steer to starboard.
To the right, Eric.
Right.
Not too hard over. You'll just knock us dead.
45 degrees on the tiller, Eric.
Dig in, Hen. Dig in.
There's a little island over there. We can get there. Henry, Uncle, steer. Too much swell. We won't be able to land.
How long is the painter?
What?
Long enough, I'd say.
You fend off with one of the oars, Lucy. I'll get the painter between my teeth and jump for it. Once I'm on, toss Ricky to me on the up, Eric.
Righto.
Daddy, no.
All right.
Don't move yet, Eric. Keep sitting with Ricky until I'm safely on.
Yes.
I'm on. Get Ricky ready. Get him to me on the next up.
All right.
Henry, let go. You'll turn us over.
Where's Uncle Eric?
Ricky!
Here, take him. He went under the boat.
Thank heavens! There you are. Poor little Ricky. There's a good fellow.
I got some wood.
Good boy.
I've cut my feet.
Me too. I ruined my size 12 boots. Have you got any idea how difficult it is to find a decent pair of boots in size 12? Boots that are equally at home in town and country. Look at my boots, Ricky. Look at them. They're broken.
Silly, Daddy.
Silly boots.
Silly boot.
Managed to save one potato. Shall we cook it?
One tato, one tato.
My watch has had it. What about yours, Henry?
We've been here 3 hours.
Well, the fire ought to attract someone's attention eventually.
Strangely exhilarating. When one stares death in the face, wouldn't you agree? In fact, it has done.
What?
Attracted someone's attention. That's a lobster boat.
Oh.
Hurrah! Certainly an experience, eh? Like castaways on Valentine's Coral Island.
Except without the blue tropical seas.
And the coral.
Still a wonderful opportunity for some unscheduled bird watching. Did you know puffins live in burrows? Ah, here he comes. Here he comes.
Hello, Ricky.
Hello. Where's my ball?
Oh, I think the chickens have been playing with it.
Silly chicken. Bring ball back.
We expected to see you coming up from the cove.
What kept you?
What brought you round that way?
I had to do a bit of walking, actually, Avril.
3 hours of it. The lobster man offered to bring us home, but Eric insisted he dropped us off straight away so we could walk.
With feet in tatters.
We expected you for lunch. It's nearly supper time.
So what happened?
Where's the boat?
We lost it, sort of thing.
Eric, what happened?
It's just a bit of shenanigans with the tide. What's for supper?
Good of the youngsters to take Ricky off on a hike. We can't spend forever neglecting the farm.
Now they've had a few days to get over their expedition, they seem almost jolly again.
What's the matter?
I don't understand what you're doing.
I am removing the spark plug from the new outboard and replacing it with one that was taken out of the car at the last service.
And why are you doing that when you could be writing?
Because this new outboard isn't working properly.
What's wrong with the new outboard?
Acting up. Yesterday, when I was out fishing in the new skiff,
What happened?
had to row against the tide.
And that's why you sounded like one of your emphysemic old miners from the valleys.
I suppose so.
And you think it's the plug?
Bill said it might be. He said it might be oiling up. I assume you trust Bill's opinion?
You're being nasty about Bill.
Don't be ridiculous. No, I was simply remarking on the closeness between you and him.
Bill has been a godsend. I could do worse than marry a fellow like that.
Do you really want to marry the local one-legged farmer?
I asked about the outboard.
I might not be getting the oil-to-petrol mix right.
Well, do you measure it properly when you're putting it in?
Yes, by eye.
Well, that doesn't sound right.
That's how everyone does it.
I don't suppose that's true. So, it might not be the spark plug at all.
I'm lost in the torture section. I know Winston's final surrender and his betrayal of Julia, the do it to her moment. I know how it ought to work, but at present I'm still in the same old cell with the same old beatings. I need something new. No, the spark plug's something I can try before I waste a whole tank of petrol emptying it out and refilling it with a different mix.
I'd be very surprised if you can just swap the spark plug from a two-stroke outboard motor with one from any old car.
Why?
Well, they're different serial numbers for a start.
What?
Well, surely that must mean they're for different engines. Eric?
Yes?
Do you understand the difference between a four-stroke and a two-stroke engine?
Of course I do.
Right, then I don't, so why don't you explain it to me? So you had to row against the tide.
Sat and waited before I came up, let my breathing settle. I didn't want you to see.
So you've started creeping around, hiding your symptoms. Did you know that the tide would be running against you when you wanted to come back in?
No.
Did you know the engine was dodgy when you went out?
Yes, sort of.
And you still went out?
Yes.
Listen, Eric, don't you think you should at least know what's going on and why? What makes the tides happen, Eric?
The moon, Avril.
And how does that work exactly? Perhaps you shouldn't take Richard out again.
Ricky.
Oh, God, never. What does it matter?
Eileen and I called him Ricky. And when he's asleep, we ought to keep a better eye on him. Your friend Bill was saying there have been rat attacks on sleeping babies at the southern end of the island. They always go for the face, apparently. Smith grew up in the rubble of the city. He saw rats every day. Perhaps O'Brien brings in rats. Here.
What?
You carry on with the engine. I need to go back to work.
Well, what do you want for supper?
I reversed over a chicken earlier. We'll have that.
Avril, you've lit a fire.
Oh, actually, Jane lit it before we sat down for supper. She's very capable.
It's nice to have a fire.
If we run out of wood, we'll have to burn that new duck house of yours, Eric. Really is the oddest example of carpentry I've ever seen.
Has anyone checked Ricky?
I did. His spark out.
That was a terrific supper, Aunt Avril.
Too many bones.
Well, it's difficult to get the bones out when the bird's all bashed up like that.
She was a good layer, not a pot bird. Poor old Dorothy.
Smoke, Henry?
No thanks, Eric. Will you slaughter the goats eventually?
When they stop giving milk, I suppose so, yes.
And you won't feel like a murderer.
I say, have you young people seen that film? It came out about 2 years ago. What was it? Deadly Night? Is that right?
Dead of Night.
Dead of Night.
Oh, yes. Oh, topping. Had it in the mess in Germany. Are you all right, Eric?
Damn it.
Are we having ghost stories?
Oh, I don't think so, no.
Shame.
I get a bit eerie, Lucy.
Good-o.
Well, the movie begins with a group of people assembling in a cosy country retreat, and then they gather around the fireside.
Like us here.
Yes, and they start to talk about their dreams, which are, of course, pretty scary.
I just got goosebumps.
In the last story, Michael Redgrave plays a psychotic ventriloquist. Now, of course, we don't know he's psychotic at first. In fact, we think he's quite a nice chap, except after he's done his show. Sylvester, yes, a rival ventriloquist, is leaving his dressing room after a row, and the dummy starts crying out to him through the closed door.
Oh. Sylvester, don't leave. Please, get me out of here. Please, please.
And then I think there's a murder, and yes, and Redgrave and his dummy are locked in the local jail on suspicion. Very unsettling. Have I got it right?
No, I wasn't watching, but it sounded pretty like it.
Yes, Eric, that's the gist.
Now, of course, we, the audience, know Redgrave actually did the murder, but within his own head, he lets himself off the hook because he blames the dummy. But the dummy bites him. There are what look like human teeth marks on Redgrave's hand, with blood coming through. And that sows a seed of doubt in us. Maybe this dummy is actually demonic. Maybe it does have a life of its own.
Chilling stuff, don't you think?
Then, once Redgrave is in the prison, in the sanatorium, he tries to smother the dummy with a pillow. And all through the scene, as the muffled dummy begs for its life, Redgrave is still moving his lips in that way ventriloquists have of not quite managing to hide that they're voicing the dummy. Please, please, no, please. Avril, do my lips move when I'm being George Orwell at the typewriter? Hmm? Is he my dummy, do you think, children? Or am I his? Lucy, look at me. Look at me, look into my face. Am I Uncle Eric,
or George Orwell? What do you see?
Uncle, no, that's just too spooky. I won't sleep a wink.
Oh, well done, Eric. Top hole. You had us going there.
Imagine if George Orwell is a ruthless killer. Then, like the ventriloquist's dummy, he might be capable of manipulating his creator into doing all kinds of despicable things.
But who would George want to kill?
Me, of course.
Eric, that's enough. How about some tea, Jane?
Yes, we'll go.
I see the blood streaks in your hankies when they go through the wash. If you know George Orwell is dragging you to an early grave, why don't you tell him to damn well get out? Jorah! Jorah! Bloody Jorah!
They're a cheerful bunch. But at least now they're gone, we can get on with the planting.
How are you feeling?
I know I'm getting worse.
I worry in case you hemorrhage. We're so far from a doctor.
I confess I am beginning to feel a bit vulnerable. I had hoped people might want to help us out. If we had more like Jane and Henry visiting us, then things would seem a lot easier.
People have their own lives. They come to us for their holidays, not to look after us. I think we should let the farm go, such as it is. I'll concentrate on Ricky. You get 1984 finished.
If you want to go back south, just say so.
I'm just suggesting we let the farm slip gently back to nature and order food from the village.
That would be giving up.
I prefer the world with you in it. And now there's a world that rather likes the idea of George Orwell.
When I went to Eileen's grave in Newcastle, when I saw it, I felt so very alone. And I missed her terribly. Ricky needs a mother, and I need a woman. Always needed women, Avril.
Eileen's death was very sad, I know, Eric.
I was unfaithful to her, but it didn't mean I loved her any less.
What?
I've always got over-enthusiastic about women. Sometimes on first meeting, it's like someone's flicked a switch. I come out with the silliest things. You know, while I was married to Eileen, I used to tell other women she was content to let me carry on because she just wanted me to be happy.
Did Eileen know?
Sometimes.
Was she content?
Not at all. When it comes to women, I am stuck with the libido of a 16-year-old. I took up with a French tart in Paris. She moved into my hotel room. Lovely short Eton haircut and a bum like a boy's. I would have married her. Then she surprised me by producing a boyfriend, and the two of them robbed me. Oh. I lied about it in Down and Out, said it was an Italian who did it, but it was a short-haired imp, really.
You know, my life hasn't exactly been without incident. And believe it or not, I too have feelings.
You're making me feel queasy. I don't really want to know about my sister's longings.
You admitted you were like a spoilt child when Richard Reese came up to stay with me.
Yes, sorry.
I remember the day you tried to talk him into getting between the shafts of the cart and making like a pony.
Well, now you've got long Bill Silver, me hearties, following you about. Desperate.
Bill Dunn is a fine man. Don't make fun of him.
Sadly, I don't see many eligible young women hunting the tundra, hiking determinedly onwards, searching for a lanky, cadaverous writer with a mewling 3-year-old adoptee, who I assume is asleep.
Yes.
The amount that boy sleeps. Hope he doesn't have brain damage.
Young children need sleep. It's when they grow.
Lucky things.
Women do come by now and then. We have visitors.
I don't count my nieces. Not yet, anyway.
Oh. You know, on the companionship front, it might help if you didn't offer marriage to any poor girl who makes the mistake of stopping to light a cigarette within 10 yards of you.
Can't promise, I'm afraid.
In a month or two, those mountains will be covered in snow. Just letting out the chickens will be an act of heroism as one has to hack through the ice to give them something to drink. The ducks won't be able to wash their eyes. There'll be ice on the insides of the windows. And then we'll be into February. And that's always when your chest gets really bad. And this time, you might not make it into March, Eric. We have to go to the mainland and put you in a sanatorium.
I'm not giving in.
Why haven't you lit the lamp?
I like to watch the light go.
Is the kettle hot?
Yes. Success?
Ta-da! I come bearing gifts.
Yeah.
A letter from London, addressed by someone who looks to have a female hand. Well, come on. Give me the dope.
It's too dark to read. You light the lamp, will you? That's better. Now we can see what we're doing. It's from Sonia.
Second thoughts?
No, not about coming up to live here. But she says she's concerned I should know she still has a soft spot for me. But she doesn't feel she can just pack in the work she's doing when she's just getting into television.
Nonsense, of course, because it'll never catch on.
It does in 1984. Yeah. And she wants to keep the door open. Hopes I'll let her know the moment there's a possibility I'll be visiting London.
Oh, Eric, you're right about not having grown up. That's why all those girls like you. Little boy in size 12s. God in heaven, Eric, your skin colour.
I have to admit, I'm not feeling very Christmassy.
Is that your way of saying you're frightened?
Frightened I won't finish the book.
I thought you were nearly done.
Rough, but not redrafting, so they can't mangle the thing in editing.
Did you sleep last night?
Off and on.
You really do stink, Eric.
Sheets were soaked again this morning. Hung them on the banister.
Are you going to let me get you into hospital?
Yes, please, Avril.
I'll drive down to Ardlossa in the morning, check the sea state for the ferry, and phone that place on the mainland we thought about. Herr Myers. At least we might get to spend Christmas Day in civilization. You checked your weight?
I've lost a little over 2 stones.
I'll be back by tea time. Now stay in front of the fire, will you?
Hello, is that you? Avril? Hello, darling. Yes. Well, not yet a while. I can't do much better, I'm afraid. I am on a trolley next to the sister's desk on her telephone, you see. No, the treatment they're giving me puts the left lung completely out of action, which is supposed to give it a better chance to heal. They first crush the phrenetic nerve, which I gather is what makes the lung expand and contract. Then they pump air in the space underneath the lung sac, between it and the diaphragm, which I understand pushes the lung up into a different position. No, I mean they've been in there and cut the lungs away from the ribs so they can get the movement they want. Pretty impressive. Yes, so, the pressure pushes the lung up and closes the cavities that have been carved out by the disease. And that means there aren't all those sort of valleys, gullies sort of thing, in which pneumonia and so on can flourish like they're in some kind of hothouse. Avril, are you there? You've gone quiet. Well, yes, imagine how I feel. Anyway, I have to get refills of air into the diaphragm every few days. But later on it'll get down to once a week, or less. Exhausting. As if one's fighting for some kind of healing to happen and it never quite manages to. As if death's jest book is having a good old laugh.
Anyway, listen, it's good stuff for the book. Listen. Here. The legs had shrunk so the knees were thicker than the thighs. The curvature of the spine was astonishing. The thin shoulders were hunched forward so as to make a cavity of the chest. The scraggy neck seemed to be bending double under the weight of the skull. All good stuff, eh? Yes. Thanks for getting me back here.
I didn't want to.
Thanks. It's the place to finish it, don't you think?
What do you mean, finish it?
The book, Avril.
Oh.
Book. Look at my neck. Drugs made my skin just start peeling off. Anyway, back to the cold face of art, eh? Oh, yes. Something I meant to tell you the docs said before they let me out. Apparently, with my poor chest as a kid and so on, they might have given me lots of remedies with mercury in them, which possibly explains why my sperm is dead. So they started killing me progressively from childhood, in a way that ensured I wouldn't leave my footprint in the world, genetically speaking, so to speak. You look wonderful, Mrs. Orwell.
You look absurd, Eric. Dressed in all your finery from the waist up.
You could slip your hand under the bedclothes now they've gone. It is our wedding night, after all.
Imagine if someone came in. It wouldn't be a very noble gift to posterity, would it?
No, but true to character.
Do you feel like talking?
Yes.
Got my notebook somewhere.
You don't need to worry about getting every word down. I think it's best if I just ramble. You try to get the gist of things. When you're writing about something that's actually happened and you weren't there, you reach a point when you have to close the books and write what seems to have stuck to the wall. You met me late, so it's going to be about your impression of things.
I understand.
Where are we going to start?
1984 is a thing for which you'll be best remembered. That's what I'm going to get asked about all the time.
All right. The books I had written up to this point have been witness to real events. Even Animal Farm. They're histories. 1984 is a history and also a prophecy.
Just talk to me, darling.
Everything in 1984 is known to me. They'll try and say it's a work of the imagination, but actually it's a grueling account of how we shall live if we don't do something. I have a photograph of Stalin and Yezhov together on a bridge, and another picture, just the same, with an empty space where Yezhov stood, except I don't know where it is. I suppose it's in a box somewhere, maybe still on Jura.
I believe you.
You know, Yezhov actually out-Stalined Stalin as an NKVD killer.
I'm sure.
The rubble and rats in Smith's London are the same as you'll find on the bomb sites of King's Cross, just up the road from here, and that's certainly where I imagine Charrington keeping his shop, and the shattering rocket bombs that rain down are the Germans' V1s and V2s. On Saturday, 25th of November 1944, at 12:26 p.m. at a busy shopping parade in New Cross, a V2 rocket hit, killing 168 mothers, children, old people. 40 of them were Woolworths staff, including Saturday girls and boys. It was a nice day. It was a change from the rain and the snow. There were children returning from a swim at the local baths. Workmen sat on a wall eating their sandwiches.
You don't have to say any more.
Poor, poor people. Victory Mansions, where Smith lives, is Langford Court on Abbey Road, where Eileen and I lived. The copses where Julia and Smith make love are in the Hertfordshire countryside around Wallington and the Stores, where Eileen and I also made love. The train Smith takes out there is the one I used to get into the BBC. The grisly grandeur of the Ministry of Truth is Senate House at University College, just a quarter of a mile from here. The BBC canteen at Portland Place, with the dirty plates and the stink of chips in filthy oil and stewed cabbage, is the one Smith eats in. Room 101 is the Broadcasting House office where the Eastern Service Committee met and bullied me when I was racked with bronchitis. And BH, along with every state agency, was full of fascist sympathisers right through the bloody war. They had a say in what we could and couldn't broadcast. Them, the bloody O'Briens of our world, with their soft tones and smiles and hard hearts. And it was from the BBC that I learnt the real truth about privilege. That its sole purpose is to perpetuate itself. And that's what Goldstein's book tells Smith.
Do you need anything?
A moment, just a moment.
I just want you to know, this isn't about pity. I do love you. And at the same time, I am honoured, Eric. Grateful that you chose me for the task. The world will miss you.
Always best to quit when you're ahead. Nothing as sad as a diminished variety artist. I trust you, Sonia. And I'm honoured that you have married me. And you have a magnificent bosom.
Ta very much.
Keep it to yourself. The rogue bit. I mean, do what you like with the bosom. Oh, and the faces of the prisoners at the mass hangings are the Burmese I executed on behalf of King George V. Prol feed is the rubbish that comes out of the radio, and it's garnished with the football pools, which Smith knows as the lottery. And 1984 was completed on the 100th anniversary of the publication of the Communist Manifesto. The 4th of April is the first date Smith puts in his fatal diary. That's the day on which Eileen was buried in Jesmond. And that last letter, the one she never finished, in it, she says, "My bed is next to the window and it faces the right way. I also see the fire and a clock." The book is full of bloody clocks, counting me out of this. You're a sensible girl, Sonia. I have to ask a question. Will you promise to answer honestly?
Of course.
How did I do?
I don't understand.
Did I make a good job?
Oh, yes. You made a very good job of it, Eric.
Oh, thank you, dearest. You can go now if you like. Good night.
Good night, Eric.
George.
All right, then. Good night, George.
No, Eric's better.
I agree. Good night, then, Eric.
Jura. Bloody Jura.
What's that?
Nothing.
In the real George Orwell, Jura, Eric Blair was played by Joseph Milson, Avril Blair by Liza Sadovy, David Holbrook by Adam Nagaitis, Sonia Orwell by Stephanie Racine, and Ricky Blair by James Foster, with Will Howard, Alexandra Gelf and Lizzie Watts. The Real George Orwell, Juror, was written by Jonathan Holloway and directed by Jeremy Mortimer.